Hello everyone. Welcome to Zen and Fanfics. Today we are featuring What If Vigilante Deku was Aizawa's adopted kitten. The story is written by Coffee Addict 9000 on Archive of Our Own org. Before we start, please like and subscribe for more content. Now let's dive into the story. He's an alley cat. He's been one for about 10 years now. He's been called by many names, but the newest name he's been called is Sage. By all means, Sage isn't the worst thing he's been called. Deku comes to mind for worst. It's actually one of his better names. Sage is the name of a hero. A vigilante. But that doesn't mean he doesn't feel subtle pride when someone calls him that. He's been a stray most of his life, living on the bare minimum, an edge of hunger almost always pricking at his sides. Even now, hunger gnawed at his ribs as he stalked through the alley, ears straining to hear the softest of footsteps. Then he heard it. Not footsteps, but the soft sound of clothing brushing against a wall. Taking the appearance of a Singapura, he slipped behind the dumpster. A couple heartbeats later, a tall, dark man slipped into the alley. Eraserhead, the underground pro, has been on his trail since. Well, when he was first called Sage. Though Sage is a human boy, they don't know the quirk of, nor his age. He knows that they know he's small, underfed, dirty, and strong. Strong enough to defeat an S-class villain named Muscular. How he did that, even he doesn't know. All he knows is he would have killed more than just the water hose heroes who he couldn't save in time. Sage does everything quirkless. No one has seen him use a quirk. Hard when he hides it so well, never uses it in a camera's view, and keeps it away from prying eyes. Wears baggy clothing, shoes, gloves, hood, and mask. When fighting, he usually uses the strength, balance, hearing, and agility part of his quirk, as well as knives or his retractable metal with staff. He's sure they'll figure it out eventually, especially if Nizu catches sight of his case. Maybe he already has. His fur fluffs up at the thought as he shakes himself with a slight jingle as Eraserhead stalks through the alley. It's a dead end with no fire escapes or anything to get easy access to the roof. He heard the hero hiss out a curse under his breath, smelling of coffee, as he reached to his ear. It seemed to unmute as a voice came from the other end. Eraser, status update. I lost him. The dark hero grumbled tiredly. He's not in the dead-end alley he walked into, and I know for a fact he can't hide here. So he might have a teleportation quirk. The man on the line asked. It's possible. The heroine hummed. He's good at stealth, definitely underweight if I had to guess his age. I'd say probably about 20. Wow, they think he's an adult. Surprisingly, he's never heard anyone guess his age before. I didn't get a look at his face. He's about 4 feet tall. Eraser continued. He was wearing black cargo pants and a black hooded coat with red sneakers. He would go barefoot, but it would slightly give his quirk away. He can't have them knowing he has a mutation quirk of some kind. Besides, the quirkless wear red. Not that he can see red, but he made sure that they were sneakers, so it's good for his cover story. Sage is glad his quirk morphs his clothes with him. That would have made life so much harder. Hiding the evidence of his quirk and whatnot, he would have given up on even changing into a human at all. But instead, everything on him seems to disappear until he shifts back. He's always thought of it as everything on him going into some sort of pocket dimension or something. His go-to cat to shift into is a Singapura, as it's one of the smallest cat breeds, and can fit into some of the smallest cracks and crevices, making hiding so much easier. When it's cold, he usually goes for a Siberian forest cat or a ragamuffin. When it's hot, it's usually a Siamese or a British Shorthair. Any cat with less fur just makes him feel naked and uncomfortable to be out and about. When deliberately doing things around humans, he's almost always a Siberian forest cat. With their round features and fluffy fur, people more often than not find him to be the most adorable or appealing kitty they've ever seen. With his black fur shining a forest green when the light hits him just right, and his big emerald eyes combined with the thick, fluffy, and soft fur of the Siberian. It just makes humans fall in love with him right then and there. Well, most of the time at least. He can't change the color of his fur or eyes, only what breed of cat he is. His unique fur color makes him stand out, for better or worse. At least it's dark, allowing him to hide better, and the green would work nicely in a more plant-heavy environment. He's getting stuck in his head again, shaking himself and the thoughts away with a louder chime from the collar around his neck. He stretches before starting to clean his disheveled fur. Because his spot is just big enough, he shifts into a Siberian. Just in case Eraser sees him, he's still on call leaning against a wall. Wait, where did he get that coffee? How long had he been zoned out for? Long enough that Sage should be long gone, and he could just be a normal cat doing normal cat things. He shrugged to himself before jumping up from behind the dumpster. It was cramped, and he wanted a bigger stretch. And so he stretched with a yawn like he just woke up from a really long nap. Eraser didn't seem to notice him until he was halfway done with cleaning himself. He was licking his right shoulder, carefully cleaning the long, healed scar beneath his fur when the tired man noticed. He paused in his cleaning as Eraser's eyes slid to him, acting as though he hadn't seen the hero until now. He made sure to keep his tongue out as they stared at each other. Humans loved when he did that, and looked at the man with big innocent eyes, making sure to put a sort of look of surprise on his face. There was an Eraser. Are you still there? Bringing the man out of his stupor. Cat, I'll call you back, Sakachi. Eraserhead said. Before hanging up, he could have sworn he heard the person on the other end say, Wait, no. Eraser, don't you dare hang up the phone for a cat. This is imper-dash. He hung up the phone with no remorse on his face. He retracted his tongue and sat up straighter. Tilting his head in curiosity, he watched as the man got something out of his pocket. Eraser opened what sounded like a can, and the scent of wet food that came from the man almost made him start drooling. His stomach grumbled as he smelled the heavenly scent. He's sure the hero heard it too as he quickly placed the open can in front of him. He hesitated for a moment before he couldn't help himself and took the first bite. Holy catnip. It's so good, the best food he's ever eaten in a very long time. The only cat food he's eaten before was dry kibble. It wasn't very good, but this is amazing. It's one of those expensive brands with the actual chunks of meat. This one is chicken with something akin to gravy in it. He could have sworn he ate the whole can in 10 seconds. What's his aim? Eraser surely wouldn't feed him the most heavenly food for nothing. Humans are trading animals. They give to take. He looked at the hero suspiciously, playing it as curiosity, with a tilt of his head as he sat up straight. He knows how to look regal as he looks at the man in front of him, licking his paw to wipe his face clean. Eraser doesn't seem to be doing anything but taking photos. Is that it? He knows he's pretty and very photogenic, but that's it. Fine, he can make that deal. Pictures for food seems reasonable enough. After he's done washing his face, he shakes himself out with another slight jingle, makes his fur fluffier in him, as humans say, more friend-shaped. He hopped to the ground to get a better angle for cuteness instead of regal, positioned himself so he's looking up at the heroine with big shining eyes and stuck just the right amount of tongue out. He held that pose for about a minute before he laid out on the ground on his back for extra fluffiness, tongue still out as he angled his head to look like he was smiling in true 3 fashion. Again, he held the pose for a moment before getting up, shaking himself off, and looking him in the eyes to give him a nod before walking away. Away as in he walked out of the alley to the next one where the fire escape was so he can watch the man from the roof. Carrot Aizawa is both disappointed and confused as the cat leaves the alley. Disappointed because the cat is leaving and Sage is still out there. Confused because, what the F? This cat struck poses like a model on a runway and just nodded at him like they made some sort of deal and just finished the transaction. Shaking away the confusing interaction, he sent all the photos to Hizashi. It should be early enough that he isn't waking him up, not that Hizashi would be mad to wake up to cute cat photos. Kami, he needs a nap. He also decided to send the cat photos to Tsukachi as a sorry for hanging up on you in the middle of a kind of important phone call. He couldn't find it in himself to regret it, though. Shota has a feeling he's going to see the cat again, and he has a feeling it's going to be important. Shota is tired. More than usual, which is saying something. He could blame it on Mike being loud or his new class of Hellspawn. It's only been a week into the new school year, too. But he knows it's because of the new vigilante, Sage. They know almost nothing about the guy, but grainy camera footage of him seemingly fighting quirkless, eyewitness reports, and small glimpses before he just vanishes. Some people have started calling him Sage the Ghost or Sage Dini. One of the heroes is a big Houdini fan. There are at least 3 articles with the headline, Sage the Ghost Vigilante has claimed retribution again, and now most of his students are talking about him. For all they know, Sage could be a girl. Sage could be in their 50s. They don't know anything about Sage except for a vague description. Aizawa sighed, sipping on a now lukewarm coffee. It's only 9 in the morning, but Cammy, he needs a nap. Thank Cammy that homeroom is over so he can focus on the case given to him. Normally vigilantes don't get cases, but Sage is so violent. They have no known mentor, and they're so new to the scene, but from Sage's skill set and how quickly they take villains and criminals down, no matter how dangerous or big they are, there's a theory that Sage has been on the scene longer than they're letting on. As either a past villain, criminal, hero, a different vigilante, or even they just miss Sage long enough that they have all the experience and they're just now getting sloppy. Shota is willing to bet Sage is new. He's seen Sage make rookie mistakes in the small glimpses he's got, like fighting with weapons. In the beginning, Sage definitely didn't know how to use them properly. Shota. Hizashi sing-songed, popping his head into the teacher's lounge where he was working. I got you coffee and food from your favorite cafe, he said, entering the room with said food and drink, as well as a separate bag and drink for him. Aizawa felt his lips pull back in a small smile at his husband's antics, taking his coffee and bag from him. What you working on? Yamada asked, taking out a cat-themed bento and pastry from his own bag. Shota sighed. New unknown vigilante who's been running around. The station wants to get more info on them due to how skilled and violent they are. Hizashi hummed. Sage, he asked before taking a big bite of the yakisoba that was in the bento. Taking a bite of his own food, Shota nodded. Still have nothing on him. It's been months. Hizashi exclaimed. Sage really doesn't want to be found. Shota raised an eyebrow, taking a sip of coffee. What does that mean? HM. Oh. Hizashi took another bite of food before speaking. You know, like a cat. I find Sage very cat-like with all his skills and everything. Shota blinked tiredly at his husband. First of all, don't talk with your mouth full. He glared at his husband with no malice. Second, can you expand on that? Sure. Hizashi smiled, taking a deep breath. Well, Sage has great balance, runs fast, hears really well, has great reflexes, knows how to not bump into things in the dark, probably night vision, and is really good at parkour. He's really evasive, good at running away and hiding, can probably hide somewhere you don't even think to look. And when we first found out about Sage, there were scratch marks on all the villains he took down before he started using real weapons. Aizawa blinked. A weird, notably green, cat in an alley where Sage disappeared. Sage, who is always covered head to toe in clothes and has never shown a quirk. No, surely not. Could it? No, it's probably just a mutation quirk then. Sage is abnormally short. If I guessed his age right, what if Sage is a kid? A kid who has fought S-class villains. And won. Shaking himself out of his thoughts, he sighed. Thanks, Zashi. I'll definitely be thinking about that now. He sighs. Aw, come on, show. I'm just giving outside insight. Hizashi pouted. Shota rolled his eyes, quickly eating the rest of his food and chugging the rest of his coffee. He needs to write this down. Carrot. He's going through the motions. Like he does every day. Why can't he stop thinking of Eraserhead? He's just like every other human, right? Taking after giving. He flinched as an explosion sounded from a nearby alley. On instinct, he shrunk into a Singapura and jumped down to hide as another explosion went off. Kachin's here. There's no doubt in his mind. It's too familiar. The scent of burning caramel is too strong. The yelling and insults are too loud. Then all of a sudden the scent is gone and the noise has stopped. Like it was never there to begin with. He fought to calm his breathing. His hackles are raised, fur fluffed up. It's okay. He hasn't seen Kakin in months. Not since he started at UA. And is on the way to getting his dream. Without him. He shook himself out, collar chiming. Whatever, it's not like he wants to be near Kakin anymore anyways. The constant explosions and the smell of burning fur and flesh. He flinches at the thought, backing into a corner and cowering. His arms are over his ears, covering his eyes, and his tail is between his legs in an attempt to be smaller. His shaking is making the bell and tag of his collar rattle louder. Footsteps sound from the entrance of the alley. Changing into a Siberian, he realized he's in a corner of a bare dead-end alley. No dumpsters, no boxes, no fire escapes, just bare brick walls too high to jump up onto. His fur fluffs up at the realization. He's made this mistake once before, when he was fresh on the streets and didn't know how to defend himself. That was the day. He shook himself out of his thoughts. He can't get distracted now. A shadow fell over the alley as the human seemed to just be standing there, looking at him with a jeer. That's when he smells. Caramel. Kakin. His breathing quickens as he looks for a way out, but the only out is past the boy. Deku. Kakin questions. He says nothing, silent like the past 5 years after he promised. All he can do is step back to the wall, corner himself further. Deku, is that you? I haven't seen you in a while. Don't you want to know how I've been? You know, going to UA and all. There he goes again, only talking about himself like no one else matters. It feels like a taunt, jabbing at how Deku is such a failure of a human. But he's not a human. He's not Deku, so he doesn't care. The blonde crept closer. Well, it was more like he was doing some funky marching thing, slouched and aggressively stomping. He felt fear wash over him in waves, each one bigger than the last, as Kakin got closer until he was drowning. His mind is screaming at him. He's trembling with his collar louder than it had ever been before. Why can't you just leave me alone? His voice is raspy and shaking with emotion. He could feel himself changing, voice and mouth becoming more human as he got bigger. Kakin stopped, took a step back even. All I've ever done is do what you've asked of me. He growled, actually growled as a monster formed. He's never been so big. We aren't friends. I'm compelled to think we never were. Every time I see you, I don't even hope to get out of the interaction without at least a couple burns. It makes me sick that you even got in. He hissed, showing teeth. Teeth the size of Kakin's hand. It's Kakin's turn to be scared, to back up from the monster he created. He looked at the puddle on the ground. He's crying. He gasped, looking at himself. He's never turned into a wildcat before, but he knows this is not how they're supposed to look. Paws of a cougar, legs of a serval, body of tiger, tail of a snow leopard, ears of a caracal, face of a lion, eyes of a cheetah, and the fur of a panther. Not that you can really tell with the fur and eyes. His collar is still around his neck, just as tight as it usually is, a comfort as it grows with him. How does it grow and shrink? Is that another part of his quirk? Just leave me alone. He chokes out, turning away. Deku I dash, Kakin started, being cut off by a growl. If I see you again, Katsuki, he started, turning back to the blonde he's known all his life. And you're not better, then I won't hesitate to rip you to shreds. He glared, eyes narrowing and fur raising. Katsuki looks like he's going to say something but thinks better of it, backing away with slightly shaking legs. If he were a dog, his tail would be between his legs. After the blonde left the alley, he changed to an Abyssinian. Now that he's not overthinking and his mind isn't clouded by fear, he immediately thought of one of the best climbers in the feline world. Climbing up the brick walls of the alley, after he got on the roof, he hesitated. If he could cry as a cat, he's sure he would be shedding tears. That didn't stop his lip from wobbling as he looked back as his collar rattled in the wind. His first friend, his oldest friend, is gone. Katsuki will never hurt him again. His fur grew longer as he became more human again as he ran away. He always felt like nothing could get to him on the rooftops of the city. The wind rushing past his ears like a lullaby, calming the tension in his shoulders as he jumps to the next roof. Eventually he stops. He knows where he is. It's one of the tallest buildings in Mizudafu, one he comes to often. Now that he's mostly human once more, he lets the tears fall. He grieves the loss, letting himself finally bury Kakin in the ground like he should have done years ago. Katsuki is not Kakin. He hasn't been Kakin in a long, long time. Kakin was his childhood friend. He was kind, brave, tried to do what was right in his own way, and he never physically attacked anyone no matter how mad he got. Kakin always greeted him with a kind smile and asked him what they were going to do that day. Katsuki is a bully who doesn't respect anyone or anything, corrupted by an ego never meant for a child to bear. All the praise and talk of glory, victory, sent him over the edge, believing that nothing he did had consequences because he was the greatest and he was going to be the best of the best like everyone said he would be. He sat on the edge and sobbed his heart out. It never made him feel better, never made him feel less alone. As he wept, the sky darkened with clouds, and it started to rain. Like the world mourned the loss with him. After a while, he brought his knees to his chest. He sat there listening to the white noise of Muzutafu with closed eyes. A siren off in the distance, a dog barking a couple blocks away, the sound of late afternoon traffic, and of course the rain as it soaks through his clothes and fur. Soaked and tired, he does nothing as he hears soft footsteps behind him. Doesn't so much as flick his hidden tail as someone who smells of nothing but coffee in the streets sits next to him. Eraser. He acknowledges in a muffled murmur, voice still rough as gravel as it had been earlier when talking to Katsuki, if not more so from his crying. He's glad for his hood and knees covering his face. It's the first time he's talked to the hero, and he wonders what the man thinks as he opens his eyes, shifting slightly to look at him. Eraserhead looks as tired as he usually does, a weird look on his face that could pass as concern. It takes a moment for the hero to find words. "Are you okay?" His voice is soft, almost comforting. He huffed. "Since when have I ever been okay?" he asked, mumbling, mostly to himself. "Just one more day." He crossed his arms, wrapping them around himself and clawing into the sides of his drenched jacket. Eraser nodded in understanding. They sat in silence until the rain passed and barely visible stars claimed the sky. He could tell the hero wanted to ask questions, but didn't know how. He's sure it's obvious that he's had a bad day, a bad life, based on the concerned looks he was given every couple minutes. "Just ask your stupid questions," he told the hero after another minute went by. Eraser sighed. It's a tired sigh. After another moment's hesitation, he spoke. "What happened?" He hummed, mulling the question over before answering. He cleared his throat. "An old friend died. Kaken was dead. There's no question about it. Katsuki isn't Kaken. He never was." He saw a look of pity on the hero's face. "It was a long time ago. I haven't seen them in years." "It's true. Kaken died when the bullying started. He hadn't seen the way Kaken was turning into Katsuki. I didn't know. Not until today. He never realized. I never got to say goodbye." He almost choked on the sentence. It was a realization he never had until he said it out loud. He fought back tears that threatened to spill once more, wiping his eyes with the back of his dripping sleeve. The hero looked upon the city. "I'm sorry to hear that, kid." He continued with a dry laugh. "It's funny. The last memory I have of him is us fighting in a playground, before my mom threw me to the streets." Tears ran down his face once more. Before the bullying began. Before he got his quirk, his damn quirk. He hiccuped another crash of emotion, split his heart into shattered pieces, some definitely lost forever. Why do quirks have to be so important? It's not like they've done anything but ruin my life. And Cammy, is that sentence so true? Starting with Kaken's quirk, then his diagnosed. Quirklessness, everyone else's quirks, his mother's quirk, then after a couple weeks in the streets his own quirk came in. It only made everything worse. Everything became so detached. The bullying because of his quirklessness turned to bullying because of his mutation quirk and being a late bloomer. Weak little kitten with no home, family, or friends. Eventually he stopped going to school. It only made his loneliness and the detachment he felt to humanity grow and become more distant than ever before. He didn't care anymore, as he took the still dripping, wet, hooded jacket off, letting Eraserhead see him fully. Him and all his 5-foot-tall, dark-furred, emerald-eyed, too cat-like to be human glory. Letting his tail out, he flicked his ears. He knows the hero sees the scars. Burns, cuts, the missing fur on his shoulder. Things you can't see with the long fur of the Siberian. Not that his fur is short, but it's hard to miss when it's wet. Sometimes, I don't know, it feels like I should be dead. Cats on the streets, at most, live only about 10 years. He looked at his paw, flexing his claws in and out. But then I remember I was once human. It feels like a curse sometimes. The cat who took me in about 2 months after my quirk came in, 5 after I first was out on the streets, died 2 years later. Naki was the best parent I could have asked for. She taught me everything I needed. To know how to live. To know what love from a parent truly was. Eraser said nothing, listening to him as the night grew darker. After a while, a little girl picked me up from an alley. She was about a year older than me, one of the nicest people I've ever met. He smiled wistfully before the smile vanished entirely. He swallowed the rising bile. She brought me home. It was the best 2.5 years of my life. He tapered off, looking beyond the sky for a couple minutes. What happened next? Eraser asked gently. Well, he crumbled, looking down at the city. That is a story I should start at the beginning. He found himself in a girl's arms. She had long blonde hair that reached her shoulders and golden eyes. She held him gently, careful of his injuries as she looked him over. She's weird, looking at the BLD almost in lust before she licks his wounds. Not really a human thing to do, but it honestly made them hurt less, and the bleeding all but stopped. Maybe she has a healing quirk. When she was done, he was purring and snuggled up to her. She's probably about 9 or 10, 1 or 2 years older than him. Nah, little kitty likes me. She cheered, gently squeezing him. She took him home. He met her parents. They weren't pleased that she brought home a cat from the streets. It took some pleading, but eventually she made a deal with her parents that ended in her not using her quirk outside or around them, and her keeping him. Apparently her name was Himiko. She had a transformation quirk that had something to do with consuming BLD, another quirk that ruins someone's life. Himiko called him Chi or Chi-Chi. It's one of his favorite names to this day, even if it does mean BLD. He has a lot of fond memories as Chi, he, and Himiko spent most of their time together. Every morning they got up together and got ready for the day. He would be cleaning himself as she was taking a shower and got dressed. He always looked away as she did so, too flustered even thinking about it. They ate breakfast together. Sometimes she would sneak him some of her food, even if he never asked for it. He walked her to school before going off to catch something to eat and waiting for her school day to end, though sometimes he would sleep in. One particular time he slept in, about 3 weeks after she brought him home, Himiko came back after a long day of school with a brilliant red collar. Or so she said. He still can't see red, but it was her favorite color, so now it's his too. The tag said Chi on it with a phone number, her phone number, on the back. Ecstatic, he practically bounded up to her. As she put his collar on, he couldn't stop purring, couldn't stop smiling. It's one of his happiest memories. He and Himiko became closer after he got his collar. They were cuddling together at night and spending as much time as they could together. Whenever Himiko had a bad day at school, too often for his liking, he would comfort her and try to get her a mouse or bird before they had to go to bed. He knew she had cravings, and her quirk was making her BLD crazy the longer she went without it. Knowing this, he tried to get her as much as he could, being careful not to get caught. He knows she appreciated it. She would tell him all her secrets, and in turn, he told her his. She never freaked out. It surprised him, to be honest. I knew you were too smart to be a normal cat. She told him late one night with a giggle. It was a weekend, and they were outside at a park laying in the grass with no one but the stars to hear them. The park was in one of the most rural places in their area. I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. He apologized, feeling a little guilty. She had smiled at him, big enough to see her sharp canines. You told me now? That has to count for something, right? She asked, elbowing him lightly. There was a comfortable silence for a moment. He wishes that moment lasted forever. Chi, I can still call you Chi, right? Himiko asked. He smiled. Of course, it's my favorite name. Himiko smiled back. Chi, no matter what happens, let's promise to always find our way back to each other. Of course, he had replied immediately as he sat up at the same time as her, grabbing her hands in his paws. Himiko, you're the best friend I've ever had, my favorite person, and no one could ever replace you. The name Chi is written on my heart, and every memory we have together burns in my mind like 1,000 stars against the black of space. He swears to this day he saw her cheeks darken as she looked into his eyes. Maybe one day, she breathed, holding his paws tight and looking at him like he hung the stars above them. We could leave, just you and me, together. She smiled, releasing his paws to hug him instead. Bugs seemed to crawl in his gut, and his fur grew hot as she hugged him tight. He hugged her back, breathing in her scent. It was floral with a hint of copper. He loved it. He loved her. He still loves her. He didn't lie when he said she was his best friend, his favorite person. The name Chi has been written on his heart, and every memory of them together still shines like 1,000 stars. Himiko can't ever be replaced. Himiko is someone he still mourns. His collar is the only physical item reminding him of her he has 4 years later. It was a warm winter day. 2.5 years had gone by since Himiko first picked him up from the alley, and it was about a year or so after he revealed himself to her. Himiko had already turned 11 and Chi 10. School only seemed to get worse as the years went on. But that was okay as long as they had each other. He couldn't wait until she was in high school. Surely Yue or Shiketsu would be better. He was out getting a mouse after Himiko got out of school. He was a couple blocks away when he smelled it. Fire. Immediately dropping the mouse, he ran back to the house. Their house. His home for the past 2 years. It was in flames. It was burned down, roof caved in, and everything inside ashes. But theirs wasn't the only one. It was almost the whole block. 2 heroes were there. Ambulances, fire trucks, and police cars were scattered around. It was a villain attack, or that's what the news said at least. He never saw anything except the aftermath, though he's sure the fire's fault was Endeavor's. The rest of the day was a blur. He remembers standing in front of the house. His home, his family. He remembers that one of the officers said they found no survivors. He stood there, watching as firefighters and Pro Hero Wash try to put out the fires as fast as they could. Eventually someone noticed him, just staring at his house. If he could, he's sure he'd have been crying, screaming, yelling at the heroes, because how could they? How could they burn a whole block of buildings to the ground with no warning to the people inside? People they swore to protect with their lives. Hey, there's a cat. One of the officers pointed at him as he continued to stand there, watching his home burn. Poor little guy. Another officer replied, "We should take him to a shelter. Get him a new home." He didn't want a new home. It was the only real home he's had since before he got his quirk. One of the officers picked him up, reading his collar. Gee, their faces scrunched up. What a weird name for a cat. Who names a cat Wisdom or Knowledge? He was offended, hissed at the officer that held him with his ears back. They weren't even holding him the right way, and it hurt as he tried to struggle out of the surprisingly strong officer. Hikari, give me the cat. How would you feel if someone said your name was weird after your home burned down and your family died? You're not even holding him right. A different officer said, taking him in her arms. He didn't stop struggling until he realized her hold was strong and sturdy. He was panicking. Shelters are bad. Most animals never come out after they're locked away. After what seemed like only a blink, he was shoved into a cage with what seemed to be a dizzying amount of force. He hoped to keep his collar, though with the thought it disappeared. Maybe his subconscious knew if he had it on they would take it, and had his quirk put it in its metaphorical pocket. The shelter was dark and cold. All he could hear were the sounds of those begging to get out before they, too, would be taken to the killing room to die alone. He doesn't know how he escaped. Most of his time at the shelter is a blur. But he does remember the feeling of digging claws into flesh and setting everyone free as the smell of gas flooded the rooms. Once everyone was out the shelter, like his home, was put ablaze. He knows he didn't light the fire. It started orange, but quickly turned blue with heat. All the cats around him scattered at its fury as he sat there watching. He remembers some of the questions he had. How did the fire start? What would have happened if he didn't get to all the cats in time? Did he just kill all of those people? What is he going to do now that he has nowhere left to go? But he's been there before. Looking back to an alleyway long, abandoned with trash all along the walls. No dumpster in sight. BLD tainted the brick walls and concrete floor. Newly abandoned and scared, unknowing of when he would eat or even leave that alley. Until someone came along to give him a new name, or he had no choice but to leave. Izuku, then Gato del Callahan, Cat of the Alley. After that it was Chi, Great Forest Guider, and now it's usually only Sage. Sure, there were kitties and little guys, not to mention that one time he was called Fluffy, but he wouldn't call those names. They never lasted more than 5 minutes. How long have you been alone? Eraserhead asked after a long pause. Well, Sage started. Technically since before my quirk came in, not including the 2.5 years I spent as Chi and the 2 years I had Naki. He sighed, giving the hero beside him a weary smile. Guess I can't be happy for too long, huh? Eraser frowned lightly, clearly concerned. Do you have anywhere to stay? How are you getting food? Water? What do you do for injuries? Whoa. Sage held up his paws. Let me stop you there. He sighs before continuing. Do you ask all these questions to every ally cat you meet, or is it just me? Sage tilts his head with a slight smile. But you're not a cat. Eraser points out, frowning. Sage shrugs, frowning. That's like saying someone with a frog quirk isn't frog. Eraser blinks. She's not, though. She's a human child just like you are. Wah, no, that's not what I dash. Sage pauses for a moment. Wait, you know a girl with a frog quirk. Never mind. I'm trying to say that ever since my quirk came in, I have been a cat. Well, at least a lot more cat than human. Yes, Tsu is in my homeroom class. Eraserhead told him with a straight face. Also, can you explain why you feel more cat than human? The pro asks. Well, my mom abandoned me in an alley thinking I was quirkless. Got my quirk pretty soon after she left. He started, flicking his left ear and wrapping his tail around himself. Naki found me before I starved to death. She taught me how to hunt, find safe water, where it's best to sleep, how to fight, and everything else I needed to know before she died. At that point, I didn't know I could change back into a mostly human, spending all 2 years as a cat. I actually didn't know how to do that until it was after I was Gato del Callahan, so probably at least 4 years after I got my quirk. And even then, I've never been mostly human for more than 3 hours before. Of course, I still went to school all the while, and the bullying only got worse. Poor little Deku still can't write why is he still here. But school is a whole different can of tuna, because that goes into how I figured out how to write and talk. The underground hero nodded, quirking his lip in amusement. Can of tuna. Oh yeah, isn't it supposed to be caterpillars or something? He asked with a purr. I picked up some human lingo, but it doesn't really translate well, so I changed it to something that fits better. I don't even remember what the original phrases were. It's actually can of worms. Eraser told him matter-of-factly. Sage gave him an amused purr. See, it doesn't make sense. You don't even eat worms, he tilts his head. Or do you? Do humans eat worms? The hero scrunched his face in, most likely disgust. I'm pretty sure it's a fishing metaphor. Speaking of eating, would you be willing to come with me? You know, to eat? He lifted his right sleeve to reveal a watch. Breakfast in about an hour. You can meet my husband. Sage shifts in his spot. Will Eraser take him in? Will he get too comfortable and lose everything again? Everyone he's ever loved seems to have some sort of countdown before something bad happens. But he's been lonely for so long. It feels so great when he has someone, whether they be Naki, Himiko, or even the pro hero himself. Is it worth it? Is he prepared to have another family? He's been alone for so long. Is he willing to gain only to lose it all over again? Kid. Eraser tapped his shoulder. Sage. Shaking himself out, he wrapped his arms around himself. I don't know. He's already told him this much. What's a little more? Sage looks down to the sleeping city. I guess. I'm a little scared to get attached again. It always seems like something bad happens to everyone around me. Sometimes, the hero hesitantly rested a light and gentle hand on his shoulder. Life takes away everything important, but the memories you have of those important things stays with you. Nothing can replace them, so don't. That doesn't mean you can't have new important things, make memories with them, cherish them as much as the older ones. Maybe you'll lose them too. It's a risk of living life. He sighed. It happens, and there's nothing anyone can do. Sage looked at the tired man wearily. That's really depressing. Eraser nodded, taking his hand back from his shoulder. Yeah, it's quiet. Too high up to hear anything but what little traffic there is, sleepy birds, and the wind as the sun starts to rise. It's about 5 in the morning. They let the silence sit for a couple minutes. Sage flicks his tail. Okay. He turns to the hero next to him, getting to his feet. I have nothing left to lose. Eraserhead stood with him, pulling out a phone from one of his pockets. He seemed to quickly send a message before putting it back. It's not too far. but it'll take about 15 minutes. He headed for the stairs. Why not jump from rooftop to rooftop? I'm sure it won't take as long. Sage asked, grabbing his jacket and putting it back on. It's still moist, just like his fur. Maybe so, the tired hero agreed, but it might bring unwanted attention. Sage shrugged, shifting to a Siberian forest cat once more and hopping onto the hero's shoulder. Sage has many words to describe Eraserhead's house. Surprising, colorful, cat-heavy, one might say. Interesting. When Eraser points to a house he claims is his, Sage hops down from his shoulder and shifts back into his mostly human form. His clothes are dry with his fur. It's another thing he finds convenient with his quirk. As soon as he takes a step into the house, he's hit with a bright, cheery, sunshine yellow wall. Lots of small pictures of cats hung on the wall, each one a different cat, names underneath each one on a plaque attached to the frame. Blinking Sage looked down to the cherrywood floor, littered with a couple cat toys. His eyes moved to what looks to be a living room. It has light blue walls, a giant purple rug that's off-center, a green sofa that could fit 4 people, a comfortable-looking purple love seat, and a black coffee table with piles of paper strewn about. The sofa and love seat had a couple random pillows on them. The sofa has a hot pink heart-shaped pillow with the words Cat Mom on it, as well as a white pillow with a rainbow sewn on it. The love seat has a strawberry pillow on it, as well as a fluffy blanket draped over the back. There's a TV as well as a cat tree next to a window. More pictures hung on the walls behind the sofa and love seat. These are pictures of people. One in particular caught his eye. It was of 4 high school students in front of UA. The kid on the end to the left is clearly Eraser. Next to him is a kid with blonde hair and retro glasses. On the other side of that kid is another with wispy blue hair, familiar yellow goggles on his head, and a bandaged nose. On the far right is a girl with dark purple hair and triangular glasses. He recognizes the blonde as Present Mike and the girl as Ms. Midnight. He doesn't know the blue-haired boy. Sage jumps out of his thoughts when he's nudged. Sorry, but I would like to shut the door, Eraser told him while nudging him farther into the house. Nodding, Sage takes a couple steps into the house. It has a strong smell of cat, only one, and it smells like someone's cooking. It doesn't take very long before he sees an older black tomcat with amber eyes. Sage sits down, shifting his vocal cords. He mews a greeting, letting the older cat get his scent as he got his. His name is BSDRD. Who names a pet BSDRD? How's the outside? BSDRD meowed before washing his face. Sage flicks an ear. It's nice, it rained not too long ago. He mews back, wrapping his tail around his back paws. It was enough to thoroughly soak my fur. The older cat purred in amusement. I'm guessing Shota brought you in. Another stray he's brought home. I guess so. Sage purred, sharing the older feline's amusement. Breakfast is ready, the tired man told him. Shota, he's wearing different clothes, pink sweatpants, and a black t-shirt. His hair is wet, and he smells less of coffee. He probably took a shower. BSDRD gave him a barely noticeable nod. Sage shifted his voice back as he got up, patting to Shota. You named your cat BSDRD. He raised a brow. Shota blinked at him. Did you talk to him? They started walking down the mellow yellow painted hall. Actually, in hindsight, it makes sense that you would be able to do that. Humming, Sage looked at all the 4x5 famed cat photos. There are a lot, probably about 100 frames on the wall. So what's with all the cat photos? He asks, stopping at a familiar face. An orange tabby she-cat. The plaque underneath has a date on it, suggesting that's when the picture was taken. The she-cat's name was Penny. She was really friendly and nice to talk to. Hizashi and I have a contest on who can find the most cats every month. Whoever wins picks the movie on our monthly movie night. Shota told him. We also put the winner's best photo for the month on the wall, so we can keep count of how many times each person has won. Mine have black frames, and Hizashi's have white frames. He pointed out, before turning into an archway that leads into what looks to be a half-kitchen, half-dining room. It's, again, very colorful, but not as colorful as the living room. The floor kept the cherry wood. The walls are a nice dull violet. All the cabinets and countertops are also cherry wood. The appliances are black and metallic silver. A few dishes are in a sink by the dishwasher. The countertops are mostly clean except for a couple knickknacks here and there. Most are cats. A man with long blonde hair is setting a mug filled with what smelled like coffee next to a plate. Sage realizes, for the first time since he talked to Shota, that he doesn't know how to use any utensils or actually anything in general about eating food at a table. The last time he actually ate at a table was in school, in first grade. He never ate at the table as Chi either. And, well, you really can't have expected there to be some random table when he was out in the streets when he would eat as a cat. This is going to be incredibly awkward, isn't it? He followed Shota to the small, circular table. There's a stack of some sort of circular bread. Maybe on a plate in the middle, as well as some sort of thin meat sticks on another plate next to them. Butter and a clear brown sauce with a leaf on the bottle. Sage is confused to say the least. Hizashi, this is Sage. Shota gestured to him. He awkwardly waved, tail swaying slightly. He wasn't prepared when the blonde practically tackled him in a hug. Sho, you should have said how cute the little lister is. The man, Hizashi, picked him up like he's a very small, young human. He can feel his fur start to fluff up. See, can you put me down? Sage squeaks, he can barely breathe. Sorry. Hizashi apologized as he put him back down. Before Sage can get his bearings back, the man is in the kitchen. What would you like to drink? Water, milk, coffee, orange juice. Sage shakes his fur out. Water's fine. It's not like he's ever had anything else. He's pretty sure he heard somewhere that milk is bad for cats, and has been scared to try it since. Same with coffee, actually. He glances at where Shota is now sitting at the table, sipping his coffee with an amused face before gesturing to sit to his left. Sage follows the instructions, unsure what to do with himself. So he sits on the chair, crossing his legs like he's sitting on the ground. He realizes it's also been a good while since he sat in chair. Looking at the utensils he sees. What was it called? He swears it started with an S. One of them started with an S. He's jolted out of his thoughts when Hizashi puts a glass of water in front of him, next to the plate, before sitting down on the other side of Shota. Sage watches in curiosity as both of the humans slightly bow and say, "Itadakimasu," before taking 2 bread discs and a couple meat strips. He decided to just follow their lead, taking some and putting them on his own plate. If they're touching the food with their hands, why not eat it with their hands? What's the point of the SSSSS utensil? Shrugging to himself, he takes one of the bread discs and takes a bite. It's a lot sweeter than he thought it would be. It's also not as tough. Kinda like cake. He takes another bite. How is it, little listener? Hizashi asks with a smile, bringing him out of his thoughts. Swallowing the remaining bread disc that's in his mouth, he answers. It's really good. He debates if he should tell them it's better than frog. Instead, he decides to ask a question a moment later. What is it? Both humans look at him in confusion. Hizashi answers with a strained smile. Pancakes and bacon. It's American. Sage gives a silent, oh. He wonders if he should ask what the utensil is called, or maybe wait a little bit. Looking at both of the adults' faces, he decides to ask another day. Instead, he takes a meat STRP, bacon, and takes a bite. As he expected, it's savory, but it's also a little sweet. It's delicious, and he can't help but basically inhale it and everything else that's left on his plate. He doesn't know when he started purring, but he definitely is as he takes his glass of water. It's his first time drinking from glass, too. Remembering what he saw Shota do with his mug, he brought the cup to his mouth and tipped it. His movement was a bit rough, and he's pretty sure the humans noticed, but they didn't say anything as he probably almost spilled water on his face. But he didn't. He drank out a glass pretty much correctly on his first try. He doesn't want to drink out of a glass ever again. It's too stressful. Maybe you should just ask for a bowl or something. There's a few beats of silence before the conversation picks back up again. So, little listener, because it's Sunday, neither Shota or I have work. We can spend the day together and get to know each other more. Hizashi smiled brightly. Well, it's not like he has any plans. Sure, he can't help that it came out as a question, but it doesn't seem to offend either of the humans. Sage swishes his tail anxiously. What do you want to do? Shota asked before chugging the rest of his coffee. Sage shrinks slightly. What do people usually do to spend a day together? He's never really spent time with people other than Himiko. Sage isn't sure he could really do any of those things without crying today. Most of them weren't things he would do with either of the adults anyways. Cuddles, love, Shota, put the mug back on the table. It usually depends. But honestly, I think we should take you shopping. Hizashi gasped, clearly excited. Yes, for clothes and stuff. And then we can get ice cream or something. The blonde is practically vibrating in his seat. But first, Shota butts in. We should give you a bath and put you in different clothes. Sage frowned, an ear twitching in annoyance. Fine. He resigned himself. Carrot, Shota watched in half amusement as Hizashi used the hairdryer on a small, extremely fluffy Sage who looks done with everything already. He's in his cat form, laying on his stomach in a sort of starfish pose with his face on the floor. When Sage was dry, Hizashi set the hairdryer down and took Sage into his arms. Now we have to find clothes that fit. Sage blinks, almost glaring. Put me down. Hizashi pulls him closer. But you're so fluffy and cute. He practically gives the cat, kid, in his arms puppy eyes. Put him down, Hizashi. Shota told his husband, right before Sage turned human. Hizashi, clearly not expecting the weight change, fell forward holding Sage outward so he wouldn't fall on him. Sage gets up, wearing a pair of black shorts and a white t-shirt that says fishing shirt on it. He's not wearing shoes or socks, but he's wearing a red collar. He looks slightly amused at their faces. What? Were you expecting me to only have what I was wearing as a vigilante? I mean, a little. Shota admitted this kid is something else. Hizashi got up from where he practically face-planted on the floor, looking at Sage in wonder. Where do they go? If you forget about something, is it just stuck? Well, Sage started with a hesitant smile. I have a theory that everything goes in a sort of pocket dimension connected to my quirk, and having a good memory is a side effect. Shota noticed his tail swish slightly, and his eyes brightened. Excitement. How do you protect your ears from your quirk? What happens when another hero is working with you? Do they also get equipment to protect their hearing? Sage pulled out a notebook from his shorts that he swears had nothing in it a moment before and flipped to a page. That's what my headphones are for. They also work as hearing aids. Hizashi told him. For other heroes, like Shota, when they're working with me, they usually carry some sort of ear protection like earplugs. But usually intercoms protect hearing. Sage nodded before turning to him. Why don't you put your hair up to stop people from knowing when you're using your quirk? He asked. Shota blinked. I guess I never really thought about it. It's his biggest tell other than his eyes. Why didn't he, or anyone else, think of putting his hair up? What happens when a villain notices and figures out how long he can keep his eyes open? Before we go outside, Hizashi interrupted his thoughts, an almost midlife crisis. You can call me either Hizashi or Yamada. After a moment, Hizashi slightly elbowed his side. Oh, Aizawa's fine. What do you want us to call you, little listener? His husband asked with a bright smile. Sage seems to shrink slightly, nervousness coming back. Anything is fine. I've been called by so many names. Shota remembers a couple. Sage, Chi, one was in Spanish. And Izuku? He asked. Sage blinked at him, probably not expecting, most likely, his BRTH name. Sure, that's fine. I haven't been called that in a long time. He shook himself out. So, what are we doing? We were going to go shopping for you. Like clothes and stuff. But now I don't even know what you need. Hizashi pouted. Izuku rolled his eyes. Well, I have clothes, 2 32-ounce water bottles, 1 cucumber Gatorade, 5 notebooks for good mechanical pencils, 10 lead refill packs, and weapons. He told them before giving a small smile. I could still go through metal detectors. Not shop detectors, though, for some reason. Shoplifting aside, a cucumber Gatorade. Shota questioned. It's an odd thing to have considering it's American. Where did he get it? Oh, yeah, the cucumber Gatorade. Sage, Izuku pulled it out of his pocket, inspecting it closely. Yeah, I remember. He put it back in his pocket. Some guy gave it to me. Never told me what he put in it. Definitely drugged or spiked, though. And how do you know that, little listener? Hizashi asked, clearly just as worried as he was. Shota followed his husband's question with, one of his own. How old were you when some guy gave it to you? I drank some, but human substances don't affect me the same way, so instead of what it was supposed to do, nothing really happened. Well, other than me forgetting it existed, I guess they do, just rot until I go through everything. Izuku commented, for Hizashi's first question of the conversation again. I think it was pretty much right after I started being called Sage. Shota massages his temple, trying to fight a headache he knows he's going to get from this conversation. Okay, we gotten off track. Let's just go out, and we'll figure out what we're doing on the way. Hizashi sighed. Finne, but this conversation isn't over. No drinking or eating things from strangers. But you're technically a stranger, and I ate your food. Izuku tilted his head slightly. In retaliation, Hizashi hugged him with tears in his eyes. You're my child now, he stated. Oh, Izuku blinked, clearly a little uncomfortable, before awkwardly patting Hizashi's shoulder. We should go before we've wasted the whole day here. It's only been an hour. Hizashi mumbled with a pout, grabbing both Sage and Shota before pulling them out the door. It's not long before they're walking the streets of Mizuta-fu. Izuku's fur slightly fluffed, betraying how uncomfortable he is as a human. Or mostly human, as he calls it. Are we still going to this mall place, or where are we going? Izuku asks, narrowing his eyes on a bird flying not too far from them. What even is a mall? I'm assuming it's a building. It's like a supermarket, but indoors and 2 stories. Shota told him, pausing for a moment. You know what a supermarket is, right? Izuku deadpants at him. Of course I know about humans trading paper and metal for fruits, vegetables, clothing, jewelry, and sometimes meat in streets under the 4-legged umbrellas. He huffed, rolling his eyes. I lived in the streets, not in some human's house. Hizashi gave Shota a look over Izuku's head, which wasn't difficult considering they're both about 2 feet taller than him. Or what was it? Live underground. Izuku flicked his tail. Under a mountain. A tree. Maybe it was worms again. I can never remember worms. Shota blinked. A rock. Yeah, that was it, a rock. Izuku purred in amusement. I didn't live under a rock. We usually say a human's house, because most don't usually get to go outside very often, if at all. They don't know very much about what's going on unless the human has the picture box on. But even then I've heard it's usually boring. Hizashi frowned. Where do worms come in? He looks concerned. Earlier he said can of tuna instead of can of worms. Shota told his husband, making the blonde giggle. Izuku's purr died down with an ear flick. I'm sorry, my only human interaction for most of my life was bullying, not including Himiko, of course. Hey, is that the mall? He pointed. What a great topic change. Both adults look to where Izuku is pointing. Yeah, it is. Hizashi nods, shifting slightly. Izuku narrows his eyes at him suspiciously. Why are you nervous? Shota gives his husband a questioning look. Hizashi is sweating, looking anywhere but at them. He looks at his right wrist. A look at the time. Maybe we should go this way instead. You don't have a watch on that arm. Shota deadpans as he and Izuku get pushed in a different direction and behind a corner. Hizashi dash, boom, carrot. Carrot, Sage flinches for fluffing up at the burnt caramel smell. But then he smells the air again. It's just normal smoke. He sighs in relief before peeking around the corner. It's just a robbery. His fur flattens. Thanks, Sekhmet. It doesn't take long for Sage to notice both the adults with him, giving him confused and concerned faces. He grows hot under his fur, letting his tail swish. Sorry, no comment. They know enough of his trauma already. Thank you very much. Sage understands stealing by human standards is wrong. He understands that a lot of things by human standards are wrong. Most cats don't care if you steal or get in a fight or even kill another cat, as long as that cat was a prick. What Sage doesn't understand is why humans always go the more violent route whenever they do something like that. Sage waves the thought away. Not the time. Don't worry, I've got this. He waves at the 2 adults as he slips around the corner, now in his vigilante outfit. It only takes him a minute to knock out all the robbers and tie them up with rope one employee gave him. Thank you, I wasn't here. He waved, letting himself out of the building. Dust still clouded the air, letting him slip out unnoticed by the media now gathered, changing back into his normal clothes as he stepped back around the corner. Both of the humans he was with are still there. Hizashi looks slightly upset, and Aizawa looks done with being awake. Aizawa pinches the bridge of his nose. Kid, do I even want to know how you came back in only a minute? Why would you go in by yourself? Little listener. Hizashi took Sage in his arms like he was going to disappear. What the hell? He was only gone for a minute. Does Hizashi have separation anxiety? Isn't that a weird thing for a human to have? Sage awkwardly patted Hizashi's shoulder. That's how humans comfort each other, right? I just knocked out all 13 guys and tied them up with rope the employee gave me. It's not a big deal. He reassured them. Both the humans give him weird looks. I'm a vigilante. What did you expect? He tilted his head in a way he knows humans like, letting his ears follow the movement cutely. He hears Aizawa mumble something about spoiling problem kittens rotten. Meanwhile, Hizashi basically melts off of him before scratching behind Sage's ears. Sage is confused, but it feels nice. What are you doing? It reminds him of something Himiko used to do, similar but less. Well, actually just less. She was very touchy-feely, more cuddly than anything else. Hizashi scooped him up, carrying him like a human kid again, giving you the love you deserve. Put me down. Sage frowned, tail flicking in annoyance. He hates being held upside down. It makes him feel like he's going to be dropped at any moment. If Sage is being honest, the bank robbery was the only good part about the outing. The mall is loud and full of humans doing dumb things. It has lots of things he finds no point in anyone ever having to. Sage is given a bag of something called Skittles. What is it? Candy. You eat it. Hizashi tells him. Like chocolate. Sage gets a nod in response. He gives it back, glaring at the colorful bag. I don't touch the stuff. Hizashi takes the bag. Why? I don't understand why humans consume sweet things that have no nutritional value. Izuku tells them before looking away. And because of my quirk, I'm a little scared about eating chocolate in case it makes me sick. Aizawa and Hizashi share a look, but they just shrug and move on to the next thing. After looking around, Sage finds rocks. He blinks at the very colorful rocks before looking at Aizawa. Why do humans have rocks? Do they give rocks to their mates like birds? Aizawa shrugs. Kinda. Sage nods in complete understanding before moving on to the shaped rocks. He sees a swirled, he's assuming it's red, heart-shaped rock. It reminds him of Himiko. He takes it smooth and cold under his paw. If he could go back, he wouldn't leave her for a second unless he had to. His grip on the rock tightens. Slightly. Of course, he didn't tell the two humans everything he had on him. He has so many things it would take over a couple of hours to tell them. Do you want the rock? Aizawa pulls him out of his thoughts. He looks at the man, then down at the rock. It's slightly cracked now, a claw slightly poked in the center, leaving a light puncture mark that is cracked splintering out. Sure. His voice is detached. Far away. It doesn't have a tag on it. Wouldn't trip any alarms. He could just make it disappear. Aizawa gently takes the rock from him. Sage flicks an ear. Looking back to the table with the rocks, he notices the pins. What are those for? He points to them. Some people use them to tell others how they identify them without needing to ask. Hizashi told him. Sage blinks, tilting his head. Why? So they don't get misgendered. Aizawa answered. Sage frowns. Why would they get misgendered? Isn't it obvious what gender they are by how they are? If we try to explain it to you right now, we'll be here for hours. Aizawa sighed. Okay. Sage looks at the pins again. There are so many. Surely it's not only gender. There are only 2 genders as far as he knows, and there's at least 15 different pins. He picks up a 3-colored stripe pin. It's pink, purple, and blue. Is this for being a boy and a girl? He furrows his brow. No. Hizashi gives him an amused smile as Sage gets even more confused. That one means you're bisexual. Yeah, both. Sage raises a brow. No, like you like both females and males. Hizashi tried to explain. Sage gives him a confused look only to look at Aizawa. Aizawa sighs. You romantically like both genders. Oh. Sage puts the pin back, now understanding that the pins aren't only genders but a whole different thing altogether. For a second I thought humans were confused on what gender they were, but that's silly. Hizashi looks like he wants to say something, but is patted on the shoulder by Aizawa. We'll make a slideshow later. Sage blinks before shrugging it off. Honestly, he doesn't care about it. It's just weird. By human standards, he's probably weird too, not knowing most social norms from living as an outsider for all his life. Even as Chi, even as Sage, even now. The punctured heart-shaped rock is given back to Sage after it was paid for. It's still cracked, and it will never mend, much like his own after the fire. He puts it in his pocket, safe where no one can ever take it. They go into other stores, eventually passing clothes. Are you sure you don't need any clothes? Hizashi asks. Sage gives the blonde an amused look. I'm sure. You have shirts, pants, underwear, socks, shoes. Hizashi lists off on his fingers. What are socks? Sage frowns, racking his brain. It sounds familiar. The article of clothing that one puts on their foot before shoes. Aizawa deadpanned. Sage feels his eyes widen in understanding before he furrows his brow in a huff. Oh, the stupid foot tubes. I hate them. And wearing shoes sucks. He kicks the ground in emphasis of him, in fact, not wearing those. It makes walking so much harder. And they're so uncomfortable, not made for paws, 0 out of 10. Is that why you're not wearing them? Hizashi questioned with a slight frown. Aizawa furrowed his eyebrows. But you wore shoes when in your vigilante outfit. Yes and yes. Sage answers as they walk to the next store that catches one of their eyes. I wear shoes as a vigilante to disguise my quirk. As Sage, I never broke any laws. Technically, wasn't even a real vigilante. Never used my quirk. He shrugged, heading inside a new store as the two adults followed. He's always been a lonely soul. Even in his non-existent community of vigilantes, he was outcast. Holy God, when did he get so emo? He distracts himself with pencils that have colors. Colored pencils. Like crayons, but pencils. Pens, but erasable. He's not very good at drawing, though. Maybe in another life, he would have loved the creative freedom of color. Sage smiles lightly at the thought, moving on to the next thing that catches his eye. In another life, he wouldn't have even met Himiko. What a sad, pathetic waste that life would have been. She's still the only thing truly keeping him going. Just the thought of her nudges him forward on his F-up path. They left the mall. It's late afternoon now. Sage leads the way. He's only been to the house once, and though he knows where it is, he finds himself veering off, walking a familiar path. It doesn't take long before he's passing abandoned alleyways and stepping aside a familiar old and broken sign. Sage pads across soft grass that grew to just above his ankles. He lets his fur brush against bushes as he follows a not-so-clear pathway around the old park's field. The field is empty and overgrown, as is the small forested area behind it. And the playground he's walking to is old and sun-damaged. He's fond of all the memories he's had here. It's a far cry from a home, he knows, but after the fire it's the best he has. He finds himself relaxing in the familiarity. The sky is clear as it grows darker, and Chi finds himself settling down on the ground. He breathes in the grass, and he swears there's a slight hint of floral and copper. If it's real, he wants the scent to keep following him. He almost wishes he could have buried her here, in this special place, instead of burning to dust in the house. She settles down in the grass and huffs in amusement as he watches the humans settle down on a bench a couple feet away. Silence is heavy as the humans look around and watch him with half-concerned and half-confused looks. He doesn't mind too much looking up at the stars. Chi lets his memories wash over him. Himiko giggles, ruffling his fur as she pins him down on the grass. You're still really cute. Himiko. He feels hot under his fur. That's not fair. You're just as cute, if not 10 times cuter than I am. His exclamation is only slightly muffled by Himiko squishing his face. She only giggles more as he starts to purr. Himiko hands him an ice cream before sitting on one of the old swings. It creaks at her weight. She gives the offending food a suspicious look. I don't know if this is a good idea. Just because being a cat is your quirk doesn't mean you can't have ice cream. Himiko licks her cherry ice cream, a flavor he will refuse to touch because of how bad it is for cats, just like chocolate or anything with caffeine, and gives him a sly look. You've got to learn to live a little. He huffs, half crossing his arms. He's careful not to get any of the vanilla ice cream in his fur. You can't blame me for not wanting to get sick. Besides, she sits on the swing next to her. I don't understand the point in consuming things that have no nutritional value. Himiko giggles at him. If you don't like it, I'll eat it. With a side, she licks the vanilla ice cream that's starting to melt. He blinks at the sweetness. He hasn't had anything sweet since. He must have zoned out because the next thing he knows, Himiko is in front of him. He blinks at her. Thank Cammy, are you okay? She asks him as worry pulls on her face. She blinks at her again before realizing both of the ice creams are on the ground. Sorry. He can feel tears crawling down his cheeks. I don't think I should have any more. Himiko frowns. He knows he'll be answering all her questions in a few moments, but right now he'll let himself be wrapped in her embrace. Chi-chi. Himiko smiled brightly as she pulled him along. The sky is darkening, and she's definitely not supposed to be out this late. She looks around the nearly empty streets. I still don't think this is a good idea. Himiko only rolls her eyes as they pass the worn-down sign to the park. They won't know we snuck out. She reassured him. You mean you snuck out? I won't get in trouble like you will. She frowns at her. You could be such a stick in the mud. Himiko teases him. I've overheard that there's going to be a meteor shower tonight from some nerds in the astrology club. Don't you want to see? She rolls his eyes, a fond smile on his muzzle. All right, he complies as she pulls him along. Much quieter, he mumbled. But I'm sure it would never compare to you. The sky is nowhere near as active as it was that night. Sage still isn't sure if she heard him. He hopes she did. Izuku. Sage flinches and looks to the two humans with a sigh. Okay, I know I told you that you could call me anything but fish sticks. Just call me Sage. He groans into his paws. That name is like 10 years dead. Aizawa nods in understanding. Sage, he amends. Why are we here? Sage hums, looking back up at the sky. Just then a star shot across the tree line. You know, he started, keeping his gaze on the now dark sky. I've been told the stars are many different things. Some say they're the ancestors of past loved ones. Some say each is a dream from those touched by gods. Some say they're a giant ball of different gases billions of miles away. He watched another falling star fly. Same with falling stars. There are many different interpretations made by a wide range of creatures, each with their own theories and facts. He finally looks back to the humans. Aizawa has an eyebrow raised in question. White Hizashi seems contemplative. Sage continues. I think what I'm trying to say is that everything happens for a reason. A series of specific events, a pattern that must be fulfilled and repeated. All he gets are looks of confusion. What I mean is, never mind. It doesn't matter. He gets up from his spot, leading them out of the park. Let's go home. It's been a week since he moved in with Aizawa and Hizashi. Apparently, they made some class presentation assignment for Aizawa's homeroom. Not that either really said much about it. Sage only remembers school being boring and painful. But now both adults want to bring him, saying Mizu wants to meet him. Fine, but only so you'll stop bothering me. He hisses, annoyed. He rolls his eyes at Hizashi's cheer. My class will be thrilled. Aizawa nods, and they can present their presentation. Hizashi chirps, not unlike a bird, quietly clapping his hands excitedly. Sage huffs with slight amusement, coloring his exasperation as he changes to black shorts and a white t-shirt that says Fish Diagram, with an arrow pointing to an image of a fish labeled fish. And of course his red collar. There's only one. He asks, quirking an eyebrow. Yes. Aizawa deadpants. It's extra credit. Hizashi nods excitedly. Now, come on, we have to go. Sage shifts into a Siberian forest cat, once more, before Hizashi picks him up. He's found it's more comfortable this way. He changes back when he's put in the back of a metal monster before he's clipped in. Safety first, little listener. Hizashi winks with a thumbs up before shutting the door. It doesn't take long for them to reach UA. They apparently don't live that far. Sage doesn't like being inside the metal monsters or cars as he's been told. They're loud, and the music box in the front scared him when it suddenly started blasting what humans, or maybe just Hizashi, call good jams. Sage lets out a relieved breath when he hops out into a building that they drove into. The floor is made of concrete, and there are other metal monsters scattered throughout. He follows Aizawa and Hizashi out of the building to a separate building that seems to be mostly made of glass. The main building is big, and it takes them a couple minutes to get to the right floor for Nizu's office. Before Aizawa could knock on the door, it opens with some sort of mechanism. The human huffs softly, clearly unsurprised. They step in. Sage takes in the room. One might call it comfortable or homey. It seems that many forget about the predator in the room. Sage narrows his eyes at the stoat. "Ah, you must be Sage?" Nizu chirps, smiling in a way that wouldn't scare humans as he folds his paws on top of his desk. "Please take a seat." He gestures to the seat opposite of him. Sage glances at his humans as they sit to the side of the room as he sits in front of Nizu. He doesn't want to take his eyes off the chimera for long. They stare, sizing the other predator up for any flaws before coming to a standstill of sorts. "I'm not joining your stupid school, stoat." Sage eventually hisses, crossing his arms. Nizu's smile grows enough to see a hint of canines. "Even if it's my staff that you would be joining." Sage raises a brow, tail flicking behind him. "Why would you want me on your staff?" "You're smart. I see myself in you." Nizu replies. "You have a lot of experience in survival. You know what it's like on the streets in Japan for heroes." "Sage, I see myself in you. You're smart with the strength and skills to back it up. You are an asset I would fight the commission to keep." With a hum, Sage thinks about it for a moment. "Fine, but I want to be able to do whatever I want. Go wherever I want, teach whatever I want in any way I see fit. Punish whomever, however, within reason, of course." Nizu smiles widely. "Of course, as long as you visit my office sometimes. I would love to discuss things over tea and maybe play some chess." "I don't know what chess or tea is, but you have yourself a deal, stoat." Sage smiles back, shaking the stoat's hand. "Is there anything else you would like to discuss with me?" Nizu asks. Sage lets his smile fall. "Actually, I do. You have a student who attends this school, Bakugo Katuski." He can't stop himself from spitting out the name. "One could say we have history together." Nizu nods in complete understanding. "Would you like us to do something about that?" The air is heavy with tension as Nizu stares at him in interest. He only contemplates it for a moment. "You can look into it if you want, but it might be fun to watch you break him into shape, so don't expel him until he does something unforgivable." "Very well." Nizu concedes. "I can tell you understand." Sage notes, letting his teeth show in a sinister smile. "It feels odd. There will always be humans that make no line in the sand after all." Nizu lets his own animalistic smile show, clearly pleased. "Of course." Sage can feel his smile widen. "You, albino stoat hamster chimera, have yourself a new staff member." Nizu shakes his paw. "You should change into your vigilante uniform before leaving my office." Sage nods with a small jingle. In a blink, he's in his vigilante outfit. "I'll like a different one that isn't just street clothes." "You can visit Power Loader later to discuss getting a new one," Nizu tells him. Shota feels like he just set the world's fate in the demon rat's hands after watching what deal has transpired in front of him. "All right, let's go. The support classes are this way." Shota takes his problem kitten's hand. Sage looks at where their hands connect, and then back up at him with confusion. Though his expression is hard to see with his vigilante outfit on. "Why are you holding my paw?" "It's so you don't get lost or so we don't get separated during the rush of students trying to get to class on time." Shota tells him that, and he just wanted to hold his hand, not that he would tell Sage that. Sage shrugs off his explanation, looking around the halls. His face is one of slight discomfort and weariness. Usually kids are full of awe and excitement to be here. So, Shota starts, gaining a questioning glance from Sage. "What do you think so far?" Sage searches the hall, seemingly finding his words. "I don't remember much of school." He looks back at Shota with a serious face. "But I do remember it being a horrible experience." Himi agreed, though she did a lot better than I ever did. Shota hums, leading them downstairs. "Can you explain it to me?" Maybe Sage just hated the classroom setting, or he was one of those kids who wanted to be outside all day. "I was diagnosed quirkless before my mother threw me out," Sage tells him, stopping as the quiet of the stairwell swallowed his words. "That was when I got my second name." Shota tries to remember what name was the second one. "Gato." Sage shakes his head with a slightly fond smile and a faraway look. "No," he says softly. "No, Gato del Calon wasn't until at least another year or so later." After a moment, they continue walking in silence to the support course class. "We're just about there," Shota warns. "It's just around this corner." Sage squeezes his hand slightly as they turn a corner seconds before the metal door blows off its hinges. The sudden explosion makes Sage flinch back, leaping behind the corner they just came from. The only sound he makes is the rattle of his collar's bell. A moment later, he peeks back around with wide eyes. Is that normal? He chitters in exclamation. Handsome. What did I say about explosions? Shota can see Majima yelling at a pink-haired student. I don't envy Majima. Shota sighs, walking up to power loader with Sage following behind him. But explosions are a part of the process. The girl cheers before looking at him, and then Sage. Her excitement is palpable as she practically pounces on top of Sage before he could react. Are you here for costume updates? His hood knocked off as they fell to the ground. Sage freezes under her as she feels him up. Whoa, you're all muscly. She comments. What dash? Gee, get off. Sage flusteredly hisses as he shoves her off, not wasting any time in getting up and getting some distance. What is your problem? His ears are back, eyes narrowed. Sorry, I got excited. She smiles unapologetically, holding out her hand. May Hatsum. Sage raises a brow. Sage. He watches her hand with suspicion. What are you doing? Waiting for you to shake my hand. She answers, a wide and bright smile still plastered on her face. Sage makes a face, conveying his confusion. Why would I shake your hand? Shota and Majima watch as Hatsum tilts her head in her own confusion. Why wouldn't you shake my hand? She asks back. Because it's weird. Sage furrows his brow, relaxing slightly. I do not understand the point. A handshake is something people do to greet one another. Shota says, gaining both kids' attention. It shows respect, a social agreement, or acknowledgement. He explains. Oh. Sage nods in somewhat understanding. Turning back to the girl, he grabs her hand awkwardly and shakes it left and right with too much concentration than needed. She giggles, not correcting him. Shaking his head, Shota turns to Majima. Sage needs a hero costume. I'm sure he needs measurements and to design it. Actually, here you go. Sage holds out a paper for Majima to take. At a glance, it has a sketch and a lot of writing. Majima hums, reading. It's very detailed. I don't want anyone guessing anything about what I want. Sage replies flatly. Fair. Majima shrugs. I'll send it to the hero costume department. It'll probably take a couple days before you get it. Sage nods, pulling his hood back on. I can't wait to burn these clothes. If you want, we can use my blowtorch. Hatsum cheers as Majima goes back inside the classroom. Well, maybe we can make s'mores. Sage tilts his head. What is a s'more? Will it explode? A s'more is a small sandwich made by placing a graham cracker, then some chocolate, a roasted marshmallow, and another graham cracker. Hatsum tells him, Oh, I don't touch chocolate. It might kill me. Sage tells her, And I don't eat sweets. I don't see the point in consuming something with no nutritional value. Wow, you need to live a little. She pokes his arm. Sage blinks, raising a brow. I have. How do you think I'm standing here? Shota watches as the conversation goes on like a tennis match. No, you need to have fun. Take some risks. She chirps. Does being a vigilante for about 3 years count? Sage asks. Hatsum gives a SOSO gesture. I've shoplifted. Sage seemed to be thinking. I've had ice cream, stargazed. He offers. Is that it? Hatsum asks. Sage just shrugs. I never really had a reason to do anything that would pose a risk to my survival. Surviving has mostly been the top priority since before I can remember. Mostly. Shota comments. It's okay, we can fix that. Hatsum smiles. We can go to an amusement park sometime, or something. The bell rings. I don't know what that is, but I have to go watch a presentation. Sage tells her. Hatsum holds out her hand again. I'll tell you later. Sage grabs her hand, both shaking left to right like some sort of formal one-sided inside joke. Sure. With that, Shota and Sage make their way to the classroom in silence. Sage freezes in the doorway, feeling all eyes on him. He shifts on his paws nervously before following Aizawa fully into the classroom. This is Sage, our new staff member. Aizawa introduces, moving to his table with a small picture box on it. I hope those of you who did the extra credit assignment are ready to present today. Sensei, while you're getting the presentation ready, may we ask Sage some questions? A boy near the back with dark blue hair and glasses asks. Sure. Aizawa. Wait, should Sage be calling him sensei in this setting? Sage, what type of pro hero are you? An all-pink girl asks, pulling Sage out of his thoughts. Well, Dash. He starts to answer before none other than Katsuki cuts him off. I've never heard of him before. The blonde scoffs, rolling his eyes. So, well, he must be some kind of underground hero, like Aizawa is. I'm actually a Dash, Sage tries to correct. That makes sense. He does look like he could blend in easily. A brunette girl comments. Of course it makes sense. I'm always right. Katsuki shouts at her. Yeah, mister. I'm the best. Worship me. Sage is clearly trying to correct you. A tired-looking purple-haired kid rolls his eyes from behind him. Huh. Katsuki popped a couple explosions, making Sage shake slightly. What did you say to me, eyebags? I'm a vigilante. Sage chimes, making the room quiet down. If he could, he's sure his fur would be soaked in sweat right now. It's better they know now than later. Can you stop being mean? There's a notable silence before about half of the students start cooing. Yabaku bro, stop being mean. A kid with spiky red hair and a wide smile of sharp teeth. Katsuki, surprisingly, just rolls his eyes. Is this what he's like at school? Or maybe it's because he sees everyone here as actual people. All right, let's get this presentation over with. Aizawa interrupts the class, gesturing for Sage to sit by him. Sage does, as told, and sits down. To his astonishment, the board is lit up with a picture. The all-pink girl, a boy with bright yellow hair, another blonde that seems to sparkle, and a boy with some kind of bird quirk walk to the front of the class. This is our presentation on LGBTQ+. The pink girl cheers. The sparkly blonde pushes some hair behind one of his ears. We will be going over sexualities first. First, the boy with yellow hair gestured to the now-changed picture. This is the lesbian flag, and lesbian means two girls liking each other romantically. Sage nods, noting the pink and orange before it goes to the next slide. This is the gay flag, and it means two boys liking each other romantically. Bird Boy says kind of darkly. It looks kind of like the other one, but it's blue. This is the bisexual flag, which means someone liking both boys and girls. The pink girl pointed to the picture. Yes, he remembers this one from the mall. And this one is for those who are curious if they're bi or not. It's very Padel with pink on the top and blue on the bottom with white in the middle. This is the heterosexual flag for people who only like the opposite gender. Bird Boy seems to just talk like a dark poet. The flag is kind of boring, just black and white stripes. Pansexual and omnisexual is next. The yellow-haired boy states. Both of them are someone liking all genders, but Pans consider themselves as gender-blind. Sage frowns, looking at the two flags. What does gender-blind mean? The sparkly blonde continues. Polysexual is someone attracted to multiple, but not all genders. Gynosexuals are only attracted to feminine people, no matter their gender, and androsexuals are the same way, but with masculine people. The pink girl explains. Monosexuals are for those attracted to only one gender. Yellow-haired boy says, but wouldn't that make the person one of the first ones that they went over? Autosexuals and autoromantics are people attracted only to themselves. Sparkly boy strikes a pose. Sage doesn't fully understand, but nods anyways. Demisexuals and demiromantics need to have a personal connection before they start to feel anything towards another person. Bird Boy states, it makes sense. Gray sexuals are people who have limited SXL attraction. Yellow-haired boy states. Sparkly boy goes next. Aromantics and asexuals feel little to no romantic or SXL feelings at all. Cupiosexuals fall under asexual, but they want a SXL relationship without feeling SXL attraction. Pink girl smiles. And look how pretty the flag is. Gray romantics, unlike gray sexuals, are a mix of asexual and aromantic. Bird Boy says before muttering, revelry in the dark. And now we're moving on to genders. The pink girl cheers. Transgender is someone transitioning into the opposite gender. Non-binary are people who don't identify as boys or girls. Sparky Boy says, and a gender is someone who doesn't identify as any genders. Sage tilts his head slightly in confusion. How does someone not have a gender? What gender are they if they aren't a boy or a girl? Pangender is someone who identifies as all genders. Yellow-haired boy points. Gender fluid is someone whose gender changes over time. Cisgender is someone who identifies with the gender they were given at BRTH. Bird boy states, ending the presentation. Sage watches them go back to their seats. He glances at Aizawa before looking over the class and looking back at Aizawa. How does someone have no gender? And why are there some that are just others with a small thing that's different instead of just having one of those things and stating the small change if someone asks? It's not that they don't have a gender, and more that they don't like to be called by any gender. And the similar flags exist because someone made it and they're just kind of there now. Aizawa answers. Sage nods in understanding. How does someone become the opposite gender, and why would they do that? Is it like fish? Aizawa gives him a slightly amused smile. Someone can undergo surgery and take hormones to transition to the opposite gender. Usually because they don't feel comfortable with their BRTH gender, but everyone can have their own specific reasons. No, it's not like fish. Okay, I think that's everything for the presentation. Sage tells him before looking over the students again as he addresses them. I still don't know any of your names, though. All right, in seed order. Everyone gets one question for Sage. Aizawa says, turning off the picture on the board with a click. It just disappears like it was never there. Sage watches the sparkly blonde dramatically pose. I am Oima Yuga. Do you like cheese, Monami? Yeah, I guess. Sage tilts his head slightly. I don't eat it much. I'm Mina Ishido. The pink girl cheers. What is your favorite color? Sage blinks, thinking about it for a moment. Maybe red. That was Himiko's favorite color. It's the color of his collar. It is a surprisingly vivid color. Yeah, I'll go with red. Next is a girl with long green hair. Tsu Ajui, please call me Tsu. She croaks, putting one of her index fingers on her cheek. Sage nods. This must be the girl with the frog quirk. What will you be teaching? I'm not sure, but if I had to guess, Sage thinks about it for a moment. Either some kind of fighting class or analysis. A tall, dark blue-haired guy with glasses stands suddenly, making Sage jump. I am Tenya Ida. As class president, I can assure you that you can come to me with anything. Okay, thank you. Sage practically squeaks. That scared him a little. How long have you been a vigilante? Ida asks, chopping the air with his right arm, a peculiarity. Sage thinks about it. About 3 or 4 years. I'm Ochako Uraraka, a brunette in the back of the first row. What was your reason for becoming a vigilante? Well, you see, Sage started, shifting in his spot next to Aizawa. It was a total accident. The whole class practically spluttered. What? Yeah, after hanging out in the forest for about a year, I started going around Japan. Sage starts recounting the story. It started off small. A couple of stopping thieves in alleyways I stumble upon, helping some random people with small things, and then one day some big muscle dude comes out of nowhere and kills some people. I stop the guy who's killing people, and suddenly people are calling me Sage the Ghost or something. And of course I keep going around and doing things. It just kind of snowballed. He shrugs. There's a moment of silence before the kid in the front of the next row spoke up. Mashireo Ojiro. You said you hung out in a forest for a year. Yes. Sage answers. The guy, yellow-haired boy, behind him giggles. Good job, man. He said lowly to Ojiro before speaking up. Denki Kaminari. How old are you? I'm not entirely sure. Sage tells him. I don't know my BRTH date. Younger than Aizawa. It really depends on if he's using his cat age or his human age. It's a teen versus 70 situation. Is he younger than everyone else in the room? When do humans start high school? Isn't he about Katsuki's age, though? I'm Ejiro Kirishima. Red spiky-haired kid smiles. Who was your toughest opponent? Toughest opponent. Sage racked his brain. Eraserhead. He nods at his answer. The only person I've ever lost to. Sensei is very manly. Kirishima nods. Koji Koda. The guy behind Kirishima stutters. Is your FA favorite animal? Pigeons. Are delicious, really meaty, and easy to catch. Sage deadpants, his answer resulting in silence. Cats. Siberian forest cat, if you want something more specific. It gains a couple giggles throughout the room. It's not his fault they don't know that he was being completely serious. A second brunette, this one male, goes next. Rikido Sato, what is your favorite sweet? I don't touch the stuff. Sage answers, crossing his arms. The room bursts into shocked gasps, questions, and conversations. Okay. Sage waves his arms around to get the students' attention, quieting the room. I just don't see any point in consuming sweet things with no nutritional value. He can tell that some of the students were going to argue with his little opinion, so he rolls his eyes. And because of my quirk, I'm a little scared about eating chocolate in case it makes me sick or kills me. Which, when you live on the streets, is very important not to be when you're trying to live. Mizo Shoji, the first kid in the next row, said with a mouth on the end of one of his 6 arms. What is your quirk? Sage looks at him for a moment before smirking. I'm not going to tell you. I want to see if you students figure out before the whole staff does. His response makes the class groan, but also hypes some of them up. Some are taking notes on what they already know. Kyokujiro, a girl with short purple hair, tells him. Before I was going to ask about your music preferences, but are we allowed to get hints on what your quirk is? Sage wants to purr, but keeps it in his chest. I've already given you hints, not only from answering questions, and one of you is at an advantage. He can't stop the smile, growing on his muzzle at their confusion. Hanta Siro, the black-haired boy, thinks for a moment. What is the most illegal thing you've done? Stealing. Sage answers before rethinking his answer. Or, actually, I think it's illegal to use a gun without a license or something. Next is Bird Boy. Fumikage Tokoyami. What is some advice you wish someone told you? Sage contemplates his answer before looking him in the eye. Keep the moments you have with your loved ones close. You can't save everyone. He says darkly. Shoto Todoroki, a kid with half red and white hair, stated in a monotone voice. What is your opinion of Endeavor? He's a careless BSDRD who doesn't think about the consequences of his actions. Sage answers with a little bit of a growl. He's killed more people than most villains. Honestly, I don't know why that thing is still running around. Next is a translucent girl with messy light green hair. Toru Hagakure. What is the most surprising thing that's happened since you started hanging out with Aizawa-sensei? I'm no longer colorblind. Sage tells her, which of course makes the class ask what happened. Ran into some random kid last week, and now I can see red. It's very vibrant. Katsuki, Sage should call him by his last name, rolls his eyes. Katsuki Bakugo, what type of quirk do you have? Sage can hear him muttered in idiot extras are dumbass under his breath. Unimpressed, Sage answers anyways. I have no idea. I would categorize it as a transformation quirk. Aizawa answers for him. Hitoshi Shinso. He has wild purple hair and looks like he hasn't slept well in a while. What is your opinion on villainous and mutant quirks? It doesn't sound like a question, and it seems important to him. Sage looks at him for a minute, watching him get nervous. He thought the only one, though. Mina and Shoji seem to also get nervous the longer he watches. I don't care. He sighs at the kid's surprise. Quirks, they're the biggest curse. They dictate everything about what you're going to do and how others will treat you. Humans are cruel creatures, trying to kill themselves since day one. They make up all these rules to break, so they can harm others rightfully, and if anyone gets in the way of that, then they're in the wrong too. He waves off the look on Shinso's face. Just remember that humans SCK, and almost none of their opinions matter. Next is the last purple-haired kid. Is that hair? Minoru Mineta. What is your type of woman? Blinking, Sage scrunches his muzzle. Can you rephrase that? Sage asks, very confused as most of the class groans. You can't just ask a teacher that. Mina shouts. Ida stands, chopping his arm. Mineta, that is very inappropriate. I'm not sure what he was asking. Why is everyone so upset? Sage asks Aizawa. Aizawa just sighs. I believe, he starts, silencing the class, that he was asking what you look for in a romantic partner. Oh, Sage can feel himself getting hot under his fur. He thinks of Himiko's bright smile, how she would explain homework and make him watch a movie after, how they snuck out just to look at the stars, and she would make him eat some random snack she brought with him. She never could get rid of that iron smell from her breath. He shakes his head, feeling his heart skip. It doesn't matter. No one could ever replace her. Momo Yaoyorozu. The last student. She has long black hair up in a ponytail. What is your name? Sage tilts his head. Sage. No. We know your vigilante name. What's your civilian name? Yaoyorozu asks. It's Sage. He tells them. Wasn't Sage given to you by reporters, though? Kaminari asks. Yes. Sage nods. But it's better than most of my other names, so I decided to keep it. Wouldn't you have to legally change your name for that, though? Ida questions, adjusting his glasses. Sage deadpants. I have like a lot of names. The last one only lasted about a year. Sage is pretty much the only thing I've been called for about 4 years. Revelry in the dark. Tokoyami comments like the edgy teen he is. And of course that's when the bell rings, making Sage jump. Again, good mutt. He mutters to himself. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. You're gonna have to, now that you work here. Aizawa tells him with a touch of softness to his voice. Sage only grumbles in response as Aizawa leads him out of the room. He acknowledges Hizashi a nod as they pass him going to Class 1A for something called English. They walk for a couple minutes, Sage taking note of the layout of the school based on where he's been. This building is a maze, and he has no doubt that he's going to get lost one day. They stop at a door, Aizawa opening the door without hesitation. This is the staff lounge. Aizawa tells him, stepping into the room. It's a pretty plain, yet well-furnished room. Sage assumes that everyone is teaching right now, and that's why the room is empty of said staff. Aizawa makes his way to a counter with a coffee. Sage rolls his eyes at the man before exploring the room. There are some desks surrounded by thin walls that only go a little under halfway to the ceiling. They all look mostly identical with different trinkets and some personal items differentiating them. Sage has practically seen the whole room when he notices a slightly open door in the back of the room. With a light glance at Aizawa, who is sitting in a chair, sipping his coffee, and looking at his hand-held picture rectangle, Sage silently went over and peeked in the room. The room is small, a green sofa on one side of the room with a coffee table in the middle and a chair on the other side. There are some cabinets, and one of those cabinets that keeps food cold. But in the middle of the sofa, in the middle of taking a bite of food, is a tall skeletal blonde. Sage blinks. The human blinks back, finishing his bite of food. Awkwardly, Sage shifts still halfway through the doorway. I thought everyone else was teaching right now. The skeletal man nods. You must be Sage. Nizu sent an email. Sage has no idea what an email is. I'm Tashinori Yagi. I also started this year. Sage gives the man a small but firm nod. I see. There's a long moment of silence. So, Sage starts. What do you teach? Heroics. Yagi sheepishly smiles, though I'm not sure I'm doing a good job of teaching it. Sage nods in understanding. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be teaching, but I might be joining you. He's sure that Heroics is the class that is teaching the students how to fight and do, while Heroics, which involves survival skills and such. Mentoring isn't something I thought I would be doing to more than 1 or 2 mints. He admits, Naki was a great mentor, and he hopes he'll be able to encapsulate even a portion of what she did for him. Not that he's going to adopt 20 humans that may or may not be older than him. Well, I'm sure you can't do much worse than how I'm doing at teaching. Yagi chuckles. Being the number 1 hero doesn't mean I'm good at teaching. Number 1 hero. Sage asks, they're numbered. Does that mean this man is the first hero? Or is it like some kind of best to worst thing? Yagi gives a full belly laugh. It reminds Sage of that one old, smiley human dressed in red from that one winter holiday that Himiko showed him. The guy has a paw full of movies, though he looks different in each one. It's surprising, isn't it? I look nothing like All Might, but believe me, I'm him. All Might. Is that his hero name? It sounds stupid. Sure. Sage agrees with the man easily. It's not like he's ever seen or heard of the man before. Sage, Aizawa said from behind him. It makes Yagi jump. Must not have heard the underground hero's steps. They're louder than when he's on patrol. He hands Sage a paper. It's sectioned and has numbers on the side. This is your schedule. Sage takes it, looking at it for a couple minutes. He can make out about half of the words. After another minute, he gives in. I have no idea what this says. Aizawa frowns, and he can feel Yagi's confusion. But you have notebooks. Aizawa points out. Oh, that. Sage pulls one out, showing Aizawa what must look like random scribbles. This is actually an ancient language from a different country. Only a few of us figured out how to write, and were able to pass it along. That's Aizawa sighs, rubbing his eyes. I'll just read it to you when we get home. I can read a little bit of it, if that makes you feel better. Sage tells him. Aizawa rolls his eyes, gesturing for him to follow. Sage complies without giving Yagi so much as a glance. Hey, Dabi, she asks in a lull of silence. It's nice when there isn't yelling in the bar. Here she is, twirling her hair as she sits on a bar stool in a small bar filled with villains. She never expected to be a villain 5 years ago, but it all seemed to snowball after. Dabi gives her a questioning hum as a response, not so much as glancing at her. She huffs. That's so typical of him. Do you think? What would he think if he knew? If he could see me now? She asks, crossing her arms as she leans over the booth table. Dabi sighs, eyes rolling over the rest of the league as they get drunk at the bar, placing bets on students who are going to be in the sports festival in a couple hours. Based on what you've told me, which isn't much, he finally looks at her. I don't think the guy would care, Toga. Wouldn't he at least be a little disappointed? Himiko pouts, watching Spinner and Twice start arguing about something. You said he lived on the streets for years. I'm sure he would understand. Dabi counters, sipping what Himiko thinks is an alcoholic drink. Besides, he likes you too much to think anything you do is wrong. Himiko giggles softly. Maybe you're right. Dabi huffs, rolling his eyes. Of course I'm right. You can't prove me wrong anyways. She gives him a smile before her focus shifts back to the rest of the room. The argument has intensified and the rest are cheering them on. Himiko takes this moment to reflect. Himiko got home late from school that day. The day her world came crashing down. Not only her home, but her family was gone. The whole block was burned to ashes. Nothing was left of it. She still thinks back to that warm winter day, the day her life burned down. She turned the corner as a police car went past before she saw it. The whole block, just gone. She stared in horror as the fire was gradually extinguished. Ash left in its place. It was Endeavor. He was the cause of the fire. Himiko had felt her heart break, knowing that she was probably in that house, waiting for her to come home. Himiko backed away, partly in fear of not wanting to go into the system. But it was mostly the despair that hung heavy on her shoulders. She needed to leave, run like she had planned to do with Chi, so she ran. She ran until she couldn't anymore. It was the alley she took Chi from. She sobbed, fell apart in that alley, cried until she couldn't anymore. Days went by, and she got used to doing what she had to. Killing for BLD became a habit, which led to her discovering her quirk. Eventually, she ran into Dabi. They bonded over their hate of Endeavor. He taught her how to fight, letting her stay in his run-down apartment. He's like an older brother, she thinks, which makes sense because the man is the eldest of 4. It was rough in the beginning, but they opened up to each other eventually, in the middle of the night after one job gone wrong. Both of them being legally dead forced them to do under-the-table jobs. It was only a matter of time. Himiko looks back at the man across from her, taking another sip of his drink. Are you going to cheer your brother on? Dabi shrugs, gulping down the rest of his drink. Nah, he doesn't need it from me. Dear old dad is probably enough support. I don't know. Himiko comments. Do you think Endeavor could support anyone? He's probably just as F up as we are. Dabi only shrugs again. The argument from earlier seems to be resolved as Kirigiri sets up the TV to watch the sports festival. Only a couple minutes till it's supposed to start. Fine, Dabi sighs. I'll cheer for my little bro. Himiko smiles at him as a countdown for 1.5 minutes starts on the screen. I'll cheer him on with you. Dabi doesn't look away from the screen as it counts down. I haven't seen him in years. Wonder how much he's changed. Well, we'll find out eventually, right? Himiko asks, also not looking away from the screen. Right. Dabi agrees as the sports festival starts. So, what even is a sports festival? Sage asks his dark and tired human as they walk towards a really big building. He's wearing his new costume. Black steel-toed combat boots that are specifically made for his paws to be comfortable, baggy black cargo pants that have a hole in the back for his tail, so he has more balance, a dark forest green Kevlar hoodie that covers his whole head. He also has black gloves to match his boots that have retractable metal claws, and his hoodie has built-in tech that increases and decreases his hearing. Thanks, Hatsum. The hoodie looks like the art on my_core found on YouTube videos on the podfic of Multilani. Go watch it. It's great, the black cat hoodie, but with the face of the red and white dog without the tongue sticking. Ow. I'll add a picture of his costume in notes if I can. Hizashi, grinning like he just caught the fattest mouse in spring, answers. It's a big event that all students participate in, starting with 2 random events and ending with 1-on-1 battles. He cheers. Sage rolls his eyes. Not that the humans can see through his new costume. This could either be a human version of a Tharnonk, or it could be some gladiator arena thing. And we're going to be in a radio booth. Yes, so we can make witty commentary on what's happening. Hizashi exclaims cheerfully. Sage wants to ask more, but is soon distracted as they head into an odd box not too far from the entrance of the building. Aizawa presses a glowing button amongst many glowing buttons, and the doors close. He jumps as the box feels like it's moving. He's reeling for a couple minutes before the doors open again to not the same place as before. They leave the magic box and eventually enter a room that looks over a big arena. So, it is a gladiator arena. We're on in 5. Hizashi comments as he starts pressing some buttons and lightly messes with some dials. Aizawa just gives an amused huff as he sits in a chair on the right side of the room. Sage watches, sitting in the middle chair he knows was brought up here just for him the day prior, as Hizashi sets up whatever it is that he's doing. All right, remember hero names only and nothing about personal information. Hizashi reminds, before hitting another button. Hello, listeners, and welcome to the UA Sports Festival. The loudspeakers of Hizashi's voice make Sage jump while the whole stadium cheers. He's glad for the tech Hatsum put in his hoodie, sure that he would have gone deaf from today's events. Hey-oh, make some noise all you rabid sports fans. Hizashi's loud voice followed by the loud cheering of the audience. Get those cameras prepped, media hordes. This year we're bringing you some of the hottest performances in UA's festival history. I've only got one question before we start this show. Are you ready? Let me hear you scream as our students make their way to the main stage. The crowd cheers, but dies down again as Hizashi continues. It's amazing how he can get all those humans to do something. Would Shinso's quirk work with the voice blaster Hizashi's using? Welcome back to the UA Sports Festival, where up-and-coming heroes leave everything on the field as they fight for the chance to achieve worldwide fame and celebrity. This first group are no strangers to the spotlight. You know them for withstanding a villain attack. They're the dazzling students lighting up your TVs with solid gold skills. That's right, it's the hero core students of Class 1A. Hizashi introduced with hype as they ran out into the field. After a few moments, he continues. They haven't been getting nearly as much screen time, but this next group is still chock full of talent. Welcome, Hero Course Class 1B. Next up, General Studies Classes C, D, and E. Support Classes I, J, and K. Give it up for all of UA's first-year contestants. Half of the introductions were just Class 1A. After a couple minutes, Midnight steps onto the stage in the middle of the field. Now the introductory speech. After another moment, she speaks again. Silence, everyone. And for the student pledge, we have Katsuki Bakugo. Oh, Sage watches Katsuki stomp up the podium, stopping at the microphone. I just want to say. He pauses. I'm going to win. Sage can hear the students from here. None of them are happy. He presses his paw onto his forehead, shaking his head in disappointment. He's not in any way surprised. Midnight carries on seemingly unbothered. Without further ado, it's time for us to get started. This first fateful game of the festival, what could it be? She spins a giant wheel, and it lands on something. She waits a few moments before continuing. All classes will participate in this treacherous contest. The track is 4 kilometers around the outside of the stadium. I don't want to have to restrain anyone, at least in this game. As long as you don't leave the course, you're free to do whatever your heart desires. Now then, take your places, contestants. All the students go to stand in front of the exit as a timer counts down. Begin. Midnight called right before the kids started running. And we're off to a racing start. How about some color commentary from my 2 co-hosts? Hizashi pokes Aizawa. How did you talk me into this? Aizawa grumbles. Sage tilts his head. Hi. Will anyone even know who he is? He hopes not. Hizashi points to the track. What should we be paying attention to in the early stages of a race? The doorway. They're getting stuck. Sage comments as the floor turns to ice, trapping some students in place. Todoroki's doing he's sure. The ice doesn't stop most of 1A, though, as they get through the doorway. Mineta seems to be about to throw some of his ball, but gets hit with a machine that came out of seemingly nowhere with hands. Ooh, enemies have shown up out of nowhere. I bet we're in for a treat here. A test of strength and cunning. It's a Robo-Inferno. Hizashi exclaimed. Sage watches as students dodge and fight the machines. What are they? He asks, looking to Aizawa. Those are robots from the Heroic Entrance Exam's practical test. Aizawa explains. Nodding, Sage keeps watching as students struggle with the robots. So most students have never seen or faced them before. That's when Todoroki freezes all 3 of the robots completely so they can't move. It doesn't take long for the robots to fall, crashing to the ground. That's Todoroki from Class 1A pulling ahead to an early lead with a devastating display. Amazing. He's one we should watch. It almost seems unfair. Hizashi turns to them. Thoughts? Aizawa shrugs. His attack was both offensive and defensive. I agree. Sage nods. It was a good move. Well thought out, too. Hizashi nods, beaming. No wonder he was let in on recommendations. He'd never even fought those Robo-Infernos before, but they didn't stand a chance against his chart-topping moves. Sage can't help but notice as Kirishima bursts from one of the robots, giving the camera a thumbs up to show he's okay. Kirishima from Class 1A. What a hardcore debut from a rookie. Hizashi points out before that Metal Kid from 1B does pretty much the same thing. Tetsu from Class 1B was also stuck underneath. What are the odds? Some of the students are teaming up to make a way past the robots when Katsuki blasts over the obstacles. Class A's Bakugo is rocketing over the obstacles. Hizashi comments. Clever. I'm surprised he didn't do that when the robots first went down. Sage comments. He would be more in the lead and closer to Todoroki. Sage notes all the kids in the lead. It looks like all the kids in the lead are from Class A, at least for now. Hizashi glances at him for a moment. Well, it's not that Class B and the other students are doing poorly. It's just Dash. Class A's have learned not to hesitate. Aizawa interrupts. They've seen what the real world is like. Felt the fear of facing villains, yet they fight on. Try to overcome that fear. They've grown. All of them. And they know that they have to act quickly if they want to stay alive. It doesn't take long for the students to run into more robots. Yaoyorozu shoots one down. For those who thought that first obstacle was easy, let's see how you feel about the second one. If they take a spill, they're out. If they want to pass this test, they'll have to get creative. It's the fall. Hizashi says as students make it to the fall, which is a 15-foot-long pit with 3 different ropes, the only thing to cross it without falling in the 6-foot-deep pool beneath it. Sue jumps across in one leap. Whoa, I didn't know Sue could jump that far. But I guess that makes sense because frogs can jump really far. Sage crosses his arms as he watches other students try to cross, passing Hatsum, who also had little trouble crossing. In the world of heroes, it can be hard to get popular without a flashy quirk. Right, Eraserhead. Hizashi comments, smiling at his husband. Aizawa scowls. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hizashi only points back to the race. Looks like Todoroki is skating by easily. It's another couple minutes before he starts narrating what's happening again. He's putting distance between him and the students stuck at the fall. It hasn't been announced how many competitors will make it through to the next round, so there's no time to relax. And now, we're finally approaching the last obstacle. Everyone had better tread carefully. You're stepping onto a minefield. If you look carefully, you can see where those little bombs are buried, so keep your eyes on the ground, folks. By the way, those launch mines were designed for the game, so they might be loud and flashy, but they're not all that powerful. Just enough to make you wet your pants. Get a hold of yourself, Mike. Aizawa deadpants. You put actual explosives in the ground. Sage questions wearily, shivering slightly at the thought of being surrounded by buried explosives. Katsuki finally catches up to Todoroki. Just like that, a new student takes the lead. Hey, hey, hey. The rest of the competitors are catching up too. And what's this? Can our two leaders fight each other and stay in front of the competition? Hizashi points out as they race each other for first. Todoroki and Bakugo are neck and neck for the lead and knocking on the finish like. What are you teaching your students, Eraser? Sage asks, watching them scramble to the finish line as fast as they can. This has nothing to do with me. Aizawa denies. Each one is powered by their own drive to succeed. There you have it. Eraserhead is a terrible teacher. Hizashi teases. Aizawa glares at him. I'm what? Well, All Might is the heroics teacher. Wouldn't it be him taking the credit? Sage asks. Aizawa shrugs. It's still my class, and it's not like I don't teach half of their heroics classes. Who would have imagined at the beginning of this race that the CLMX would be a non-stop megamix of surprises? Hizashi asks, changing the subject. The first to make it back into the stadium is the first place winner. Todoroki Shoto is our champion. The contestants are pouring in one after the other. Let's hear some applause for all our competitors as we prepare the results. After about 5 minutes, Midnight steps back on the podium. The first game for the first years is finally over, and what a game it was. Now, let's take a quick look at the standings, shall we? Only the top will advance to the next round, but don't be too let down if you didn't make the cut. We've prepared other opportunities for you to shine. Now the real fun is about to begin. The chance to fully move yourselves into the limelight. Give it your best. Let's see what we have in store for you next. Prepare yourselves for this. The wheel stops on something, and the students who made it to the final round seem to talk to each other for a couple minutes before Midnight quiets them once more. Allow me to explain. The participants will form teams of 2 to 4 people as they see fit. In theory, it's basically the same as a regular playground game. But there is one difference. Each player has been assigned a point value based on the results from the obstacle course. She pauses as some of the students start talking. Maybe you should shut up and let me explain things to you. Midnight smiles as she moves on. Now then, the point assignments go up by increments of 5, starting from the bottom. And the point value assigned to the first place contestant is 10 million. She gives Todoroki a mischievous glance before continuing to explain the next game. 42 of you are qualified to move on to the next round. Gird your loins and prepare for your next test. A cavalry battle. Those of you at the top will suffer the most. Of course, that's something you'll hear over and over again at UA. Show us what plus ultra means. Shoto Todoroki placed first in the qualifier. He'll be worth 10 million. These are the rules that you'll abide by. The game itself will last 15 minutes. Individual point values will be added together to reach your team total. Everyone will know how much you're worth thanks to your headbands. Swipe as many headbands as you can to raise your team score. Stolen headbands must be worn from the neck up. So the more you steal, the harder it'll be to manage them. And another thing, even if your headband gets stolen or your team falls down, you can keep playing until time's up. Sage sighs. This sports festival is nothing like a Tharnok or a gladiator arena from the stories he's been told. It's more like those games he's seen little humans play in parks. You may use your quirks as much as you like. Midnight continues, but there are still rules. Make a team fall on purpose, and I'll slap you with a red card. You'll be disqualified. Now, you've got 15 minutes to build your teams. I recommend you get started. The students scramble into groups of 4. Oh goody, it's time to get the party started. Midnight says after what Sage assumes is 15 minutes. Hizashi pokes Aizawa again, waking him up from a small nap. Hey, look alive. Groggily, Aizawa looks over at the students. I see some unexpected student combinations. Come on, everyone get your hands in the air. It's time for an arena-thumping UA Battle Royale. Let me hear you scream. Hizashi cheers with vigor. Okay, all you first years, I hope you're happy with your chosen teams. Let's get this party started. One final countdown before the game starts. 3. He sticks up 3 of his 5 fingers. Sage watches as the students tense in anticipation. 2. Hizashi retracts one of his fingers. 1. He takes down another one before taking that one down too. Begin. Midnight finishes for him. Sage watches as the students run around each other. Some attacking, some defending, trying to keep their points and gain some from other teams. It was 15 minutes of chaos. Students fighting over headbands as Hizashi made comments and jokes for the audience. Sage was not surprised by most of Class A continuing to the third event. Nor was he surprised by May and most of Class B continuing to the next round too. Now, a lunch break before the afternoon festivities. Hizashi announces with a big grin. "See ya." Hizashi presses something and sighs. "Come on, let's go get some grub." Sage stands. "Actually, Shoto has asked me to meet with him, and I'll probably just sit in the student section after." "You're too loud." He deadpants, flicking one of his ears partly in annoyance. "Aw, our baby has a friend." Hizashi hugs Aizawa with tears in his eyes. Sage shakes his head as he leaves the room. He navigates through the stadium, finding his way to the student section. It takes him way too long to find it. This building is like self-same home territory, and after, Shoto leads him through an unoccupied hall to a branching off alley hall with a dead end. Shoto, I don't think this is the way to the food area." Sage frowns. Shoto takes a deep breath. "When I was a child, my mother poured boiling water on my face because my father pushed her too far. He would make me train until I threw up every day, never letting me play with my siblings. He would abuse us, and one day she just snapped, and he sent her to a mental hospital. That's why. I'll never use his quirk." He holds out his right hand, squeezing it tight. "I hate it. I hate him." Sage blinks, changing into his old costume and pulling his mask down so Shoto can see his face. He needs to look Shoto in the eyes for this. "When I was younger," he starts hesitantly. Shoto is looking at him in some kind of astonishment. "Naki told me, no one can ever be their parents no matter how hard they try. Just figure out who you want to be and strive for that, no matter how big or small that goal is." Sage grabs Shoto's hands in his paws. "Shoto, I understand not wanting to use your quirk. I've never used my quirk as a vigilante to hide myself better. But only using half of it is not only detrimental to your health, but it's also taking away half of who you are. Your fire is just that, yours. Just like your ice isn't your mother's, your fire is not your father's. He can't wield your flames, and only you can decide how to use them. Do you understand?" Shoto looks thoughtful before nodding, a small smile on his face. "I think so. Naki sounds very wise." Sage smiles, pulling his mask back up and switching back into his new costume. He can feel fondness softly vibrating in his chest. "Now, let's go eat. Carrot, get those foam fingers in the air. It's almost time for the last round." But before that, good news for everyone who didn't make the finals. Since this is a sports festival, we've prepared some super fun side games everyone can participate in. We even brought in cheerleaders from America to get your BLD pumping. Hizashi cheers. Sage isn't back in the booth yet, though Shota isn't sure he's coming back. And then he spots his female students in the cheer uniform. Hold up. Hizashi squints at the students. Shota sighs. What are they doing? Hizashi puts on a smile that looks more like a grimace from where Shota's sitting. Looks like Class 1A is going full-on fence service. They then watch as Sage strides onto the field, Shoto trailing behind him like a lost puppy, ears back in annoyance. He points back to the changing rooms for the girls to go change before turning to Mineta and Kaminari, crossing his arms as his mechanical tail flicks behind him. The two boys seem to get chastised. Shota smiles proudly. I wonder what they did to get Sage annoyed enough to reprimand them. He comments, "Oh, maybe he'll tell us when he gets back." Hizashi also has a proud smile. They know why Sage was reprimanding them. Obviously, the two boys somehow tricked the girls into putting on the cheer uniforms. The girls come back in record time. And now it's almost time to announce the 1v1 matchups. Hizashi cheers as Namiri has the students draw to see who they're up against. Start making your way back to your seats so you don't miss it. Now, take a look at the bracket, my dears. These are your opponents. Namiri gestured to the big screen behind her. Shota didn't comment much as the rounds passed, mostly watching as Sage pulled a notebook out of his hoodie pocket, taking notes and scribbles that only make sense to the kid himself. The first rounds went by pretty quick. Pony beating Shinso, Todoroki beating Siro, and Ibra beating Kaminari. Hatsum making a fool out of Ida, was amusing as she showed off her inventions before bowing out. Ashido melted Aoyama's support item, taking the win pretty easily. Momo wasn't given much breathing room as Tokoyami and Dark Shadow practically shoved her out of the ring. Tetsu and Kirishima ended in a tie before they had a manly arm wrestle, ending in Kirishima winning. And an intense match between Uraraka and Bakugo winning of course. Todoroki beat Pony, Ida pushed Ibara out of the ring, Tokoyami beat Ashido, and Bakugo ended up beating Kirishima. Todoroki beat Ida, and Bakugo beat Tokoyami, with Dark Shadow's aversion to light. The fight between Bakugo and Todoroki was explosive to say the least. Bakugo was angry that Todoroki wasn't using his full power, and Todoroki seemed to be hesitant and distracted. Though the distraction wasn't new, his mind seemed to be elsewhere all throughout the 1v1s. Bakugo won, of course. No one was really surprised. Except for maybe Endeavor, but the man could F off for all Shota cares and by the face that Todoroki is making for all he cares too. All Might himself gave out the awards, and Shota couldn't help his eyes trailing back to Sage. His ears are pulled back slightly, tail flicking silently behind him. Annoyance or anger. At what or who specifically, Shota's not sure. And then Sage is standing, attention pulling to something Shota can't see as he walks off. Whatever it is, Shota hopes Sage can take care of it, and if he can't, he speaks to either him or Hisashi about whatever it is. Sage watches as the students stretch and warm up with annoyed boredom from his spot on the ground. Does it always take this long? He asks Aizawa, who is taking his time drinking a cup of coffee as he watches over his class quietly. Aizawa doesn't look over. Yep. He takes another sip of coffee. 5 minutes. Ugh, I could have taken a nap. Sage yawns for emphasis, making sure it's audible. Silly humans needing to do specific things so their bodies don't fall apart on them. He grumbles to himself. The purple-haired girl raises her eyebrow at him from across the room. Jiro must have a hearing advancing quirk. His tail flicks behind him as a frown pulls at his muzzle. It's just skirmish practice. It's not like we're making them participate in Tharnok. Sage says louder. Aizawa gives him an odd look. Tharnok? He asks. You don't have Tharnok. Sage asks, tilting his head. He's a little disappointed. He takes a heartbeat to hunt his words. It's a kind of territorial dispute between glaring that usually ends in fatal injury. I heard that recently a young queen was killed in Tharnok, and her mate had to look after their kindle. Those poor kids. Aizawa blinks tiredly at him. I'm not awake enough for this. Sage huffs at him, amusement curling in his chest. He glances towards Ida, knowing his mind is probably filled with concern for his hospitalized kin. Stain apparently deemed him corrupt. The man is probably losing judgment with his growing age. Sage is a little surprised to hear about the man again. He met him once, was taught how to use weapons and such before being sent on his way. Stain said something about not being someone who should be around children, which Sage knows is what humans call their young. All right, class, let's get started. Aizawa's voice pulls him from the thoughts of his human mentor. Sage gets up with a stretch and a yawn. He watches as the students line up. They're all in their hero uniforms. We're going to be practicing quirkless fighting today, Aizawa says, causing murmurs to break out over the students. Sage huffs, rolling his eyes. Not that anyone could see. You have a lot of teachers who mostly fight quirkless. Are you really surprised? Aizawa, Hisashi, Midnight, All Might, Nizu, Hound Dog, I fight quirkless too. All Might fights quirkless. Hagakure asks, waving her hand in the air. Well, technically, yeah. What does he do other than punching people? Sage asks, tilting his head. I mean, technically he is using his quirk, but it's something akin to a simple power-up. He's still just human, a strong one sure, but human nonetheless. Katsuki looks angry. He always looks angry, and a couple other students look hesitant, but most look determined. Most heroes know how to fight quirkless, whether because their quirk doesn't help with fighting, or it's too destructive in smaller or more populated areas. Aizawa looks directly at Katsuki as he says the last part. It's important, so we're teaching it. Sage nods his agreement. And if he mentioned it just to get it moved up so he could watch Katsuki struggle without his precious quirk, well, no one will question him about it. Who all knows how to throw a punch? Sage asks. Most of the class raises their hands. Those left are Aoyama, Hagakure, Tokoimi, Mineta, and Yaoyorozu. All right, everyone with their arms raised are with Aizawa. Sage points at the man before gesturing for the others to come with him. They move over to the right of the gym where there's what Aizawa told him are punch mitts originally used for some human sport that existed before quirks called boxing and some dummies. All right, first things first, this is how you make a safe fist. Sage shows them a fist before prompting them to make their own, fixing a couple so their thumbs are on the outside. Do any of you know why your thumb should be on the outside? Yaoyorozu raises her hand. Because the thumb will break. It sounds like a question. That is correct. Sage nods. She seems to relax a little and puff her chest out slightly in pride. By tucking it underneath your fingers and resting on top of the first two knuckles, you're keeping it out of the way of impact. Not only does it keep your thumb from breaking, but it helps create a solid, powerful fist. He grabs the mitts, putting one of them on. All right, Yaoyorozu, I want you to punch the center of the mitt with both fists. She hesitantly steps toward him before punching the mitt once with both hands. That was pretty good, but I want you to punch as hard as you can. Sage tells her. Yaoyorozu nods before punching the gloves harder, but he can tell she's not punching him as hard as she could. Sage tilts his head, glancing over Yaoyorozu's shoulder at Mineta, who is watching with an odd look on his face. I want you to imagine the thing or person that you hate the most, take that anger and punch it. Her face scrunches up slightly, brows slightly furrowing before she seems to collect her thoughts and punches the mitt as hard as she physically can. Good job, he praises, a smile creeping onto his muzzle as he watches her swell with pride. You should ask Aizawa about getting her some kind of confidence lesson. I want you to practice doing that with one of the dummies, and don't hold back, because out in the field it's life or death. Right? She smiles brightly as she goes off to do just that. Tokoimi. Sage calls him forward. Punch as hard as you can with both fists. Tokoimi does just that while Dark Shadow watches from over his shoulder. Sage nods. Excellent, but when you're throwing a punch, you're going to want to stretch your arm forward like this. He demonstrates a couple of times, slow and fast. You're going to end up tearing or pulling a muscle otherwise. Punch again. Dark Shadow cheers in support as Tokoimi does as instructed. Good job. You can join Yaoyorozu now. Sage says. Aoyama. He pauses, watching as the boy in question munches on something. What are you eating? He sniffs the air in confusion. Is that cheese? He recalls the boy asking him if he liked the food. Why in all the fish in the world do you have cheese on you? Because it helps me sparkles, sparkles. Aoyama says, looking off somewhere behind and above Sage and winking. Sage is confused but shakes his head, letting it go. Just get over here and punch the mitt. Aoyama does as told. Sage sighing as he gets the human to focus on what they're doing twice and gets him throwing a punch correctly before shooing him off to join the other two at the dummies. Mineta, show me what you've got. Sage can't say he quite likes the boy, but he fixes his form nonetheless. Before you go, Sage puts a paw on one of his shoulders. I would like to warn you that if I hear about you making anyone uncomfortable in any way, I give them permission to do whatever they see fit without any consequences, as well as what I will do. Do I make myself clear? He tilts his head. Why, yes, sir. The student squeaks before running off. Sage shakes his head in slight disappointment before turning his attention to Hagakure. Before we start, Hagakure, I have a question if you don't mind. Of course, Sage-sensei. Hagakure smiles nervously, fidgeting with the ends of her gloves. He hesitates for a heartbeat before sighing in exasperation. Why are you not wearing any clothes? Sage knows most humans get bothered by public NDTY, especially when it comes to their young. Though he knows that clothes are mostly to keep humans warm and safe from their climate, as they have no fur. Hagakure doesn't answer him for a moment, seeming to try to find words. You can see me, she seems to eventually land on, her face reddening with embarrassment. Sage sets the mitt down, pulling out a black t-shirt and gray shorts. Go put these on, please. I'll bring you to Hatsum after class. I'm sure she can make you an actual costume with the help of Power Loader. Humans are fragile, so he's definitely going to make sure she's wearing something with armor, like Aizawa's undersuit, but more for her quirk, which seems to be something like not being on the spectrum of visible colors for humans. It's interesting. Hagakure dresses in under a minute. He's glad to see that the shirt a couple sizes too big for him is big enough for her. Sage gives himself a mental scratch behind the ear for having too big clothing as he grabs the mitt again. All right, give me a punch now. She punches the mitt as hard as she could. It was perfect, probably filled with the slight adrenaline that came with the earlier embarrassment. Perfect, you can join the others with the dummies for a couple minutes. He watches her go to the one closest to Yaoyorozu, who questions why she's in new clothes, putting the mitt back before he tunes them out as he makes his way to where Aizawa is watching the rest of the students as they spar in pairs, and in one instance a group of 3. Aizawa. Sage pokes the man's side gently to gain his attention as he's seen Hisashi do on multiple occasions. Aizawa hums an acknowledgement before he continues. I'll be taking Hagakure to the support course to get a uniform later, after this class. He informs. Aizawa turns to him with a raised brow. What's wrong with the one she has? You mean other than the fact that it's just boots and gloves? Sage deadpants. Aizawa's eyebrows rise in surprise, and anger flashes in his eyes. So he didn't know about it. Interesting. I will be talking to Nizu about that. Sage nods. It was the reaction he expected. He'll admit that most of the class is interesting to be around, to say the least. Though there are a few that he avoids as much as he can, mostly Katsuki. He's not sure when the explosive boy will figure out that he was Deku, but he's sure the result will be nuclear. Though he seems to have calmed slightly since starting UA. He should get Kirishima some sort of mouse or something for having to deal with his surströmming. They stand in silent watch of all the students for a few minutes before Sage returns to his group. All right, Sage gestures for the 5 students to come back to where they first were. Who knows where the best and most vulnerable places to punch someone are? Hagakure raises her hand. The throat. Yes, where else? Sage asks, watching as the students think. The face. Yaoyorozu answers. Sage nods. Do you know where on the face are the best places to aim for? Nose. Tokoyami asks more than answers. Sage huffs, a little amused. Yes. The nose, eyes, spine, ears, temple, jaw, and throat are the best places to aim for when going for the head. He points to where those are located as he lists them off. Though sometimes those are hard to reach if your opponent is taller than you. You can also aim for the solar plexus. He taps the middle of his chest where his sternum is located. And the ribs. Sage pats where his ribs are. Though you can also aim for the groin, knees, shins, and toes. Keep in mind that kicking the groin is more effective with males than females. There were a couple snickers, to which he blinked. What about what I'm telling you is funny? He tilts his head, confused. Nothing, sensei. Mineta in particular squeaks out. Sage frowns before shaking his head. Okay. I want to test out what you've learned before you join the rest of the class. I want all of you, one at a time, to fight me without holding back. After a couple rounds of sparring and tweaking stances, he sent them one by one to Aizawa with both advice and reassurances. Sage sighs before going back to Aizawa's side. The class seems to be wrapping up. Hey, sensei, Kaminari asks, raising his hand as he gains the attention of most of the class. Both Aizawa and Sage turn to him, Aizawa with a raised brow and Sage with his head tilted in question. Can you show us what it looks like for 2 pros to go against each other in quirkless combat? Maybe we can watch for a few pointers and moves we can work on ourselves. That gets the rest of the class's attention. Aizawa and Sage share a look, having a silent conversation. We could make it an assignment, Sage suggests. An analysis on our spar to see how much they learned as well as to train new skills. Aizawa sighs. Sure. The class cheers, clearly excited and intrigued, even if it means another assignment. No weapons or support items are allowed, and no serious injuries. Just like what the students were doing earlier. Aizawa stated his terms. Sage smiles. He's never fought Aizawa before. And no quirks. He agrees. He's never fought any heroes before, mostly thugs and villains. He can admit that he's a little excited at the prospect. They move to the middle of the room with the students off to the side, watching intensely. Some have small notebooks out, others have their phones out. Sage pays them no mind as he and Aizawa start circling each other, waiting for the other to make the first move. Sage isn't well-versed in Aizawa's fighting techniques, though he knows Aizawa has about as much knowledge on him as he does the hero, which means this will come down to strength, speed, agility, stamina, skill, and quick thinking. In the end, Aizawa is the first to move, aiming for Sage's face. Sage rolls out of the way and pounces at Aizawa's side before flipping over him as he hits the ground. Momentum topples the unsuspecting hero over, and even with his armor and padding underneath the jumpsuit, he knows that'll bruise. Aizawa proceeds to get up in a move that swipes Sage's feet out from under him, and before the hero could pin him to the ground with a mostly light stomp to his solar plexus, he rolls out of the way and gets up only to be met with a swift punch to his cheek. Sage retaliates by kicking the man in the gut hard and jumping out of the way of another punch. It turns out their fighting styles are both similar, yet completely different. Aizawa seems to be used to ending fights in a shorter PRD of time, and during that time, not blinking once. He's skilled, don't get Sage wrong, but he relies on his capture scarf to be able to tie up his opponent or just plain knocking them out instead of drawing out a fight against someone just as skilled and vicious at fighting quirkless as he is. Sage on the other paw is also used in knocking his opponent out at his first given opportunity and tying them up with whatever's in sight that could work. Though he also has gone after bigger fish, Muscular comes to mind, and the long drawn-out battles that comes with, as well as living on the streets and the skills that comes with. He's used to fighting with weapons and the damage that comes with them. He's used to life or death. They both fight mostly quirkless, liking dark alleyways to pounce out of the shadows, fighting one-on-one most of the time, keeping their fights as short as possible. And it shows in their movements, how they analyze and plan out their next moves. But their experiences and teachings are what set them apart. They're on equal footing, but Sage can think of a few ways to win. They trade blows in the dance of battle, keeping distance between them, until Sage kicks Aizawa right in the solar plexus, toppling the hero over once again. Sage pounces, pinning the hero as he sits on top of him, to which he baps Aizawa's face. His paw is covering Aizawa's nose up to his forehead, and as Aizawa moves slightly to start to move him off, Sage starts purring. It makes the hero pause before practically melting. Aizawa huffs against his paw, clearly amused. That's cheating. I don't know what you're talking about. Sage rumbles, the smile on his muzzle evident in his words. I'm not using a quirk, only a natural part of my body. We didn't say anything about vocalizing. Aizawa rolls his eyes. Fine, you win. He sighs. I need a nap. You and me both. It's too early in the day for this. Sage agrees, getting off of Aizawa before stretching. It was fun, though. We should do it again sometime. Aizawa raises a brow as he gets up, a small smile on his face. Sure. Now, go take Hagakure to the support course. He pats Sage's head before walking off. Sage takes a slow breath in as he watches as Aizawa shoos the students off to the changing rooms. He shakes himself out before letting the air out of his lungs. He is not getting attached. Sage knows what happens when he gets attached. His human parents, Naki, Himiko, and her parents. He doesn't want to be the reason Aizawa and Hizashi end up dead. Or, Mafde, he doesn't want to be the reason the whole class ends up dead. He's getting attached again, and they're all going to Sage-sensei. Hagakure's voice cuts through the whirlwind of memories and spiral of thoughts. She's back in her school uniform, which means he's zoned out for a while. He shakes his head. Right. Let's get you to the support course. The walk is quiet until it's not. So what's up with you and Aizawa-sensei? Hagakure asks. Sage blinks, turning his head to see her pinched expression. What do you mean? Well, she starts, bringing a hand up to poke her cheek in thought. You guys seem close. And less in a coworker way and more in a relationship. No, that's not quite right. Maybe a family kind of way. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Sage tells her, tilting his head. They're stopped in the middle of the hallway. Hagakure sighs. What is your relationship with Aizawa-sensei? Sage shrugs, continuing down the hall. He kinda adopted me. Though I don't technically exist to your government. No BRTH records or legal papers. Aizawa took me off the streets, brought me into his house with his mate, and now I hang out there and eat their food sometimes. And he remembers what Aizawa said to him on that rooftop. Sometimes, the hero hesitantly rested a light and gentle hand on his shoulder. Life takes away everything important, but the memories you have of those important things stays with you. Nothing can replace them, so don't. That doesn't mean you can't have new important things, make memories with them, cherish them as much as the older ones. Maybe you'll lose them too. It's a risk of living life. He sighed. It happens, and there's nothing anyone can do. Maybe it's okay to get attached. Just one more time. Aw, that's cute. Hagakure pulls her phone out, tapping really fast with her thumbs for a minute before putting it away. So he's like your dad. Wait, what was that about a mate? Is Aizawa married? Sage scrunches his muzzle. I'm not telling you who it is, but if you figure out for yourself, I couldn't stop you. He rolls his eyes at her giggle before stopping after turning the corner. Sage stops Hagakure from walking in front of him right as the support course doors explode off their hinges. As soon as the smoke clears, he strides forward. Hatsum, he calls into the smoking room. Sage. Hatsum calls back before she practically pounces on him. Sage, what's up? She's grinning wide, soot covering most of her front, though she was obviously wearing the welding mask that has been pushed up to the top of her head when the explosion went off. I would like to introduce you to Hagakure. She needs a new hero uniform, one that works with her quirk that isn't just boots and gloves. Sage tells her, gesturing to Hagakure. Oh, hi. I'm Hatsum. It's nice to meet you. Hatsum pushes past him, probably to do the hand-shaking procedure. Do you have any ideas on what you want it to look like, or are we working on it from scratch? I don't really have any ideas. Hagakure says sheepishly. I was only really told about changing it about an hour ago, and that's because Sage can see me. Huh. Hatsum shakes her head fondly before taking Hagakure and entering the support course lab. We'll start right away. Common, we gotta get you measured and think of ideas. Sage huffs as he follows behind. This is going to take the rest of the day and maybe the next. He just hopes she gets the finished suit before the first internship start. Sage has a feeling he might need to visit his old mentor. Where are you going? Aizawa asks, one eyebrow raised. Sage rolls his eyes as he takes a couple cans of shredded bird. I'm going to go find my last mentor. He's getting as stupid as a carp with his age. Hizashi looks both curious and concerned. And who might that be, little listener? Ah, you wouldn't know him. Sage waves off, flicking his tail with impatience. I heard from the alley-goers he's been stalking around Hosu for a while. Hosu, Hizashi said, a little withered, worry practically drenching the word. Well, as long as you're careful. Stain the hero killer has been spotted in Hosu right now. Sage processes those words before nodding. Of course. I'm not a hero anyways, so it's not like he'll do anything. To me. That dumb cod. Of course they know who he is. He leaves with a huff, shaking his head as he takes to the roofs. At least he knows his Grimalkin gaggles are up to date with their information. It takes him about a day to get to Hosu as an Egyptian Mao, though that was mostly because he had made stops with most Galerings he came across. New Natter is always welcome. He likes to stay up to date with what's going on in the Enclave as much as any cat. In turn, he shares what he knows, participating in Natter himself. Once he's actually in Hosu, Sage goes on to find a cozy spot to curl up to rest after his journey. He'll admit it's nice to curl up under the stars once more. It's like he's alone again, no one to worry about but himself. Nothing to worry about but surviving to the next day. But then the thoughts of Ida finding Stain enter his mind, and he remembers why he's here. Not something to worry about until tomorrow. He'll worry about it tomorrow. But you've seen him, Sage asks, starting to get irritated. He's been searching for his mentor for the better part of 4 days now. Sage's tail flicks with annoyance as the creamy orange tabby she-cat, Clementine, seems to think about it. Yes, he stalks the night alleys and makes the protectors nervous. I saw him a few nights ago heading towards Rising Sun. Thank you, Clementine. Sage dips his head, starting to head in the direction Hizashi called east a few weeks ago. You be safe now. I heard some dogs moved in that way, and their human likes to take them on nightly walks. She called after him. Of course. Sage called back before jumping up the fire escape to travel the rooftops once more. Finally a lead. He needs to find his mentor before he causes more unnecessary damage. It's almost moonrise as Sage scours the darkening alleys. And that's when the screaming started. Sage turns, ears perked as he walks to the busier street when fire fills his vision. He can feel his eyes widen as big beasts run rampant. Turning more human after a moment, Sage pulls out Itachi. He then pounces at the nearest beast, decapitating it with one swing of his sword. Sage flicks his ear at the screams that come with BLD. He pulls back to the shadows until he can pounce on another beast. He's in a completely different part of the city by the time he spots Ida with a water-based hero, which means he watches as Ida runs off while said hero is distracted. Sage follows after fighting and killing another beast. He traverses the roofs in the direction Ida ran until he finds Stain about to kill him. Sage changes into his old uniform as he jumps down to protect his student. Stain jumps back. Sage, Ida asks, which makes Stain double take as Sage takes his hood off. Sage, Stain. Sage steps away from where Ida lays on the floor. Paralyzed, no doubt. He and Stain step closer to one another, both looking for changes in the other's appearance. Stain ends up being the one to break the silence, a smile carving into his face. You grew, and you got old. Sage crosses his arms. You are growing stupid, hunting heroes who have only done little things wrong. What are you doing? What happened to not slaying children? Sage hisses, pointing to Ida on the ground. Stain grumbles, looking like a kid who was chastised for eating a rotten mouse. You need to either stop or think before you do something stupid, you old carp. Sage slaps him before putting his paws on his hips. If you cannot control yourself, I will come back and take another 5 days to find you. And then I will do as promised. This is your warning. He narrows his eyes and puts his hood back up before turning back to his student. Sage, wait. Stain calls as Sage crouches to scoop Ida up. Sage looks back to his mentor. You're right. And I hope you're doing good, kid. Sage stands up, Ida in his arms, giving the older vigilante a smile. A lot better than I was. Decided to try again. Maybe this time will last longer. Good. There's a hero behind you. He didn't do anything too bad. Stain rolls his eyes. I'll patch him up then. Sage waves. His men are goodbye before setting Ida down next to the hero and patching the guy up. Sage has dragged the student and hero back to the original street, having changed back to his newer uniform and put his sword away before Ida speaks up again. You know Stain personally. Ida accuses him more than asks. Sage waves down the hero Ida was interning with. He was who taught me, he tells the student, though it was more do as I teach and not as I do on the streets. Ida seems to take in his words, both paying the hero almost dead with blood loss no mind. After a couple heartbeats, Sage continues. I heard what happened to your brother. I'm sorry I did not knock sense into him sooner. Stain has grown stupid with age and has clearly forgotten that humans are never perfect. They make mistakes, and most grow from them. Ida seems to think on his words for another couple heartbeats before asking, what did you promise? To kill him if he started slipping in the wrong. Sage answers, and your quirk, is a cat quirk? Ida asks. Sage shrugs. In the eye of your law, I'm quirkless. But Eraser would consider it a type of cat quirk, yes. Oh my god, Ida, you just ran off. What happened? Are you okay? The hero Ida was interning and asks. He ran into Stain. Sage tells him, crossing his arms, that hero needs medical aid. Ida is fine. Just a scratch. Ida's face tints pink, sheepish, though he's still unable to move. I'm sorry for running off manual. What's your BLD type? Both of you. Sage asks, tilting his head. B. The bleeding hero says, looking tired. Hey. Ida responds. Why? Stain's quirk has a time limit based on BLD type. Sage tells them, pulling out his magic rectangle that Aizawa called phone and carefully navigating to call Aizawa, which he put on speaker. What happened? Aizawa asks immediately, sounding anxious. Sage rolls his eyes. Ida thought it would be a good idea to go fight Stain by himself. He's fine, by the way. A medical vehicle is on the way for a hero that was also there. You fought Stain. Aizawa asks, clearly tired. Where are you? Hosu is being attacked by the League of Villains. You're not still in Hosu, are you? Yeah. More like I told him how disappointed I was and slapped him for being an idiot. We're in Hosu. I slayed some of the beasts that were attacking. Sage told him, tail swishing behind him. God F. Hold on Hizashi and I will be there in about 20 minutes. Aizawa tells him. Sage can imagine him massaging his temple. I'll stay with Ida. Aizawa sighs. As long as you stay out of trouble until we get there. Sage can tell he's about to end the call, but before he does, Aizawa mumbles, away from his rectangle. I swear I'm going to retire by the time these kids graduate. And then it beeps 3 times, meaning Sage can put it back in his pocket. Sage isn't sure what retire means, but it sounds bad. He'll ask Hizashi later. The medical vehicle arrived not long after Ida was able to move again, its box shape and flashing lights reminding him of the night he lost his home. Sage pulls his mind back to the present with a small shake. He's sure the only reason the bleeding hero isn't moving is because of his injuries. They roll to one of the big medical buildings. Sage believes they are called a hospital, and he is told to wait in one of the waiting rooms. Sage decides to sit cross-legged on the floor after finding the chairs to be uncomfortable and takes out one of his notebooks. Unfortunately, he was unable to continue as Aizawa and Hizashi burst into the room. He'll finish catching Himiko up later. Sage puts it back in his pocket before waving them over. Where is Ida? Hizashi asks, clearly anxious and worried. Sage tilts his head. They said they were going to give him a checkup. Ida seemed fine with it, so that's that. He shrugs. Humans are silly and care a lot about privacy and such. Aizawa seems to relax at that as Hizashi picks him up under his arms in a way that his arms are extended out in front of him and holds him close to his chest. Hizashi snakes his arms around his chest after sitting down in one of the uncomfortable chairs. Sage allows him to keep a hold of him even as a human came in asking if they were with Ida. We're his teachers from UA and are his legal guardians while his parents aren't present. Aizawa explains. The human nods in understanding. Follow me. Hizashi doesn't let him go as they walk behind the human. They lead them to a room, opening it to reveal Ida sitting on an odd bed with even odder machines next to it. Ida is perfectly fine besides the small cut on his left shoulder. The human tells them. He's lucky to get away from Stain with only a scratch. Only made it out because of Sage. Ida hung his head, shame weighing down his shoulders. Yes. Well, he can be signed out as soon as the chief of police takes a statement. The human dipped his head respectfully before leaving, trading places with a dog, quirked human. Sage can feel his fur fluff up. Hizashi fully scoops him up in response, squeezing him close. Though Sage isn't sure if it's to comfort him or stop him from attacking the dog. Good evening. I am Tsurigami Kenji, the head of Japan's law enforcement. Can you tell me about your encounter with Stain? The dog Torigami asks. Nothing much happened. Ida started, chopping his hand. I ran into him. We had a confrontation. He ended up paralyzing me, and then Sage jumped down from the roof to protect me. They had a conversation, and Sage ended up slapping him and telling him off like Stain was just a disobedient child before Stain left. All the humans looked to Sage with baffled expressions, sans Ida. What? Sage asks, forcing his fur flat. I just told him how stupid he's been and that he needs to either stop being stupid or stop altogether. I doubt he'll do anything for at least a couple months. He has a lot to think about, and I know how hard that will be, because clearly he's lost the ability since I last saw him. He huffs, tail flicking. You talk to him. Torigami asks as Aizawa massages his temple. Sage rolls his eyes. What, like it's hard? Just, I don't know, speak. You know, when someone speaks, the one they're speaking to usually responds when prompted. Dogs are so stupid. He usually doesn't let anyone get a word out before he's done and leaving. The dog tells him. Hizashi squeezes him for a moment, getting his attention. You and Stain have met before, little listener. Oh yeah, I ran into him about when I started being called Sage. He nods. He taught me how to use weapons and hide from cameras. Stain was your mentor, that you've been looking for the past week. Aizawa clarifies. Sage nods. Yeah, I wonder when he stopped remembering his no hurting children rule. He shakes his head. He's grown forgetful and stupid as a carp with age. Stain is only 31. Aizawa tells him, brows furrowing. And Sage asks, Shota and I are 30. Are you calling us old? Hizashi squawks, not unlike a bird. Sage, after a moment of contemplation, shrugs. At least neither of you are stupid. Ida sighs, apparently deciding to get back to the original topic before anything else could derail the conversation. I apologize for my behavior. It was unbecoming of me, and I shouldn't have gone seeking revenge, even if it was for my brother. If I could have, I totally would have killed Endeavor a long time ago for killing my family and everyone else on the block I used to live on. Sage shrugs, rumbling. Sometimes vengeance is the correct way to go to save more people, though humans usually frown upon killing. No murder. Aizawa chastises. And I'm very disappointed in you, Ida. You're going to have detention for a week when classes start up again. There's a pause for a couple heartbeats. Sage looks up at Hizashi. What is detention? It's when a student stays after school. Shota is going to make him write an essay about what he did and why it's wrong. Hizashi answers. Oh. Sage gives a nod in understanding. Ida huffs a laugh. May I ask, why is Yamada-sensei holding Sage like that? Sage gestures for Ida to get closer. Ida does so. Sage manages to bend his arm to murmur behind his paw conspiratorially. I've noticed Hizashi has pretty bad separation anxiety, and I haven't been in the house for 5 days. I see. Ida seems confused. Sage notices Aizawa's shoulders shaking, a hand pressed into his face as he turns away from them. Well, thank you for your time. I think it's time I go write out the report. Torigami shakes his head before leaving the room. Aizawa clears his throat, shaking his head. Let's go get Ida signed out. Hizashi, Sage still in his arms, and Ida follow Aizawa to the front desk and wait as he fills out the paperwork. So separation anxiety. Hizashi asks, one brow quirked as an amused smile grows on his lips. Of all my observations, yes. Sage tells him seriously. You vocalize a lot, including crying. You have broken things. You groom excessively. Your appetite changes inconsistently. Your agitation level rises when one of us is gone with pacing and restlessness. And you get extremely excited when we return, checking us over and worrying about anything that could have happened. You're currently smothering me with affection for being gone for 5 days. He points out. Hizashi seems to contemplate that. I just worry while you guys are gone. Our line of work is dangerous. You're in denial. Sage accuses, crossing his arms. And it's as wide as denial, the river in Egypt. Don't make me take back what I said about not being stupid. Okay. I have separation anxiety. Hizashi placates. Are you happy now? Sage nods, entirely serious. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Hizashi huffs a laugh, shaking his head. Ida just seems confused. All right, we're good to go. Aizawa yawns. The moon was high in the sky as they left the building and got in the car, as he's been told is what the roadgoers are called. Cheery music that reminds him of Himiko played rather quietly from somewhere. They ended up dropping Ida off at his house. Aizawa talking to a human sitting on a chair with large wheels attached. Rolling chair. That must be Ida's brother. And now it's time to go home. Sage can't help the smile that comes with the thought. All I'm saying is I respect the guy. Spinner shrugs, hands up in a placating gesture. He and Stain have a history, and they clearly have each other's respect. Himiko isn't sure how Sage came up in planning for the camp attack. She wasn't particularly paying attention. Planning is boring. She just wants to stab someone already. Our informant says they don't know very much about him. He's a wild card. Shigaraki scratches at his neck, clearly stressed. A new player. There he goes with the gamer talk again. If he knows Stainy, then why can't we try to get him on our side? Himiko asks from her spot on the floor, picking at already chipping nail polish. Sage is a vigilante, not a hero. Dabi comments. Shigaraki grumbles to himself. I'll ask Sensei what he thinks about it later. Himiko rolls her eyes before pouting. Is planning done yet? I'm bored. And the floor is cold. Maybe she should lay in one of the booths instead. What's your opinion on Sage? You're here because of Stain too, right, Himiko? Spinner turns his attention to her, which might just PSS Shiggy off more. Himiko hums. Sage reminds her of Chi-Chi, green kitty cat with a bright red collar. His voice sounded off from Chi's small squeaky voice, though he's probably as old as Staney, so it makes sense for him to have a deeper voice. Though other than the uncanny resemblance to Chi, Himiko rolls over and props her head up on her hands. He's cute. I want to stab him. Though if I had the chance, I would totally get his number. Have you heard of how ruthless he is? Totally put that S-rank villain in his place. What was his name? Muscle. Something. Muscular. Dabi asks, taking a sip of his alcohol. Right. Himiko agrees. I heard he's quirkless. Totally has a teleportation quirk. Twice chimes in. There's a lot of talk about what quirk Sage has. We should try to add him to our team. Kill his so he doesn't become a problem later. We could try. Dabi shrugs. What's the worst that can happen? He says no. Then we can kill him, and either way he's not a problem for us anymore. Isn't that what we're doing for the top 3 kids from the sports festival anyways? Shigaraki hums, scratching his neck. That does make sense, and we wouldn't have to change the original plan that much. I can't wait to meet Sage. I want to know how he personally knows Stain. Spinner cheers, getting excited. He's such a fanboy. Though Himiko can admit that she also can't wait to meet Sage. I can't believe Aizawa Sensei is going to keep us from the camp if we fail our finals. Mina pouts. It would SCK if some of us couldn't go. He's probably just trying to motivate you to do your best. Sage points out wearily, he hates this stupid building. And no one has explained what the camp trip even is. Or why I'm even here. It's not like I need anything I can get here. For fun. Hagakure exclaimed cheerfully. Sage frowns. He feels uncomfortable with the class staring whenever they look at him since he decided to just wear his old hoodie. I will never understand why going here is fun. We are here to acquire items we will need at the training camp. Ida chops his arm, gaining the class's attention. Or everyone who attended the outing to this hell building. I suggest we form groups so we can take the least amount of time to get what we need for the trip. Yes, let's do that. Sage points at Ida. Anything to leave this building faster. He mutters, sulking. At least Katsuki didn't come. And suddenly only Sage and Uraraka are left. So what did you need anyways? Sage asks with a raised brow. Uraraka's face flushes and she shouts something about needing bug spray and that she'll catch up with him later. Sage blinks after her. What was that about? Did she really not like his face that much? He huffs before trying to find an open spot where no one will bother him. He ends up bumping into some guy with long blue hair, wearing a black hoodie, much like his own. Hey! His voice is raspy and he sounds annoyed. Sage can feel an ear flick with annoyance. I'm sorry you cannot watch where you're going. He hisses, Great Sekhmet. I hate this stupid building. The guy seems to perk up. By any chance are you Sage? Sure, why? Sage tilts his head in question. The guy shrugs, smiling. Do you mind if I chat with you for a couple moments? Narrowing his eyes, Sage shifts his stance so he can easily either run or fight this guy. Sure, what about? Let's get drinks first. There's a good smoothie place right over there. The guy points to one of the shops. Sage follows the guy cautiously. What is a smoothie? Once they're in the smoothie store, the guy orders a banana cherry smoothie. Sage, unable to read the human language, says the first fruit he could think of. Strawberry. Luckily, the girl at the counter just nods and turns to make the so-called smoothies. Strawberry, huh? The guy asks, clearly amused. Sage huffs, his tail lashing. I can't read. The guy laughs. Actually laughs at him. How old are you? Sage shrugs as they sit down at one of the tables. So, what's your name? Are you one of those humans who... What's the word? Interview. Others. You can call me Tamara. And no, I'm not an interviewer. The guy, Tamara, shakes his head. How come a guy like you can't read? Well, it's not like I need to read on the streets. It's not really something I ever thought I would need until after a racer catnapped me, and I was forced to teach. Sage rests his paws on the table as the girl calls for them to grab their drinks. Tamara gets up and grabs them, keeping his smallest finger off the cups for each hand. He must have a 5-point activation quirk like Uraraka. The conversation lulls as Tamara takes a swig of his smoothie. Sage follows his lead. He thinks he makes a face because Tamara is laughing at him again. Drinking through a straw is strange, and the cold mashed-up strawberries is also odd. Ah, but good. So, getting to that chat, Tamara smiles before leaning back in his chair. I want to know what your opinion on the League of Villains is. Sage blinks at him, swallowing a mouthful of strawberry. I think I've heard of that group before in passing. Apparently, they were on the news not too long ago. I'm not sure what they did since I think I was more focused on evading Eraser at the time. He tilts his head in question. And what is your opinion on the hero killer? Tamara goes on to ask, annoyance crossing his face. I hear you had some kind of relationship with him. Ah, Stain. He trained me in weapons. He sighs, rolling his eyes. The old man is gaining more idiocy than he is kills. I don't know what he sees in that big blonde idiot. All Might is a cod-brained, dim-witted fool for what I've seen of him. Tamara huffs. I'm sorry you have to work with him. Though not liking All Might is a very controversial opinion. He leans in, clearly wanting Sage to expand on said opinion. I don't work with him often, thank Mutt, but when I do I have to take over his whole class. Clearly he's never taught. He pulls out small papers and reads them like he hasn't even heard of talking to people normally. Sage complains, massaging his temples. There is in no way that man isn't retiring within the year. If Stain is old, All Might is a fossil. And I guess he's chronically ill or something. I don't know. Or care. He huffs, drinking more of his strawberry smoothie and closing his eyes. Really? When Sage looks at Tamara, he has a funny look on his face. Sage frowns. Is this not common knowledge? I would have thought. Humans are stupid, but he didn't think they were that stupid. Topic change. Do you own any of those gloves that only cover 2 fingers? What? Tamara's expression switches to confusion. You're not touching anything with all of your fingers, Sage points at his hand, which tells me that you have a 5-point activation quirk, and it would be bad or inconvenient to use on objects. Since you're asking about villains, I can assume that you are a part of and maybe the leader of the League of Villains that you mentioned. I can only guess that your quirk is destructive, which would be inconvenient for everyday life. One of the UA students also has a 5-point touch activation quirk and wears gloves that have 2 fingers covered. Tamara squints at him before taking out a phone and carefully tapping on it until he stops. Sage is sucking on the straw, smoothie almost finished by the time he looks up from whatever he was tapping. But if I wear them and I get into a fight, it would take time to take them off. Tamara groans. Sage swallows. What's your quirk? Disintegration. Tamara pouts, drinking his own smoothie. Couldn't you just disintegrate the gloves then, and get another pair later? Sage tilts his head, raising a brow. You, Tamara points at him, are a genius. Sage smiles. Thank you. Is there any chance that you would join the League? Tamara puts his phone back in his pocket. Drinking the rest of his smoothie, Sage thinks about it. I don't know, probably not. Not that I haven't killed anything before, but I find the concept of most things humans do to be silly. Heroes, villains, vigilantes, they like to label things and either put others down or raise others up for something as small as what people look like or what quirk they have. They've made saving people a game and fighting bad guys a sport. Sage shakes his head. I'll give you some advice, though. Tamara leans forward, clearly eager for what advice he can give him. Sage focuses on playing with his straw. The only way I can see something actually changing with how it works is something like All Might, a figure everyone believes in which can sway the way people think. That's what you're trying to do, right? Change things. Tamara just nods. People need to believe that the change you want is good. And I don't know what you did, but it wasn't seen as anything but bad. It had no real impact because the message didn't hit correctly. They need to know why you do what you do. Sage looks up at him, looking him in the eyes. You need to be seen as the good guy, or someone like Stain who has a clear message that most people either agree with or can see where he's coming from. Humans need to find you either likable or hot to get you on their good side. Tamara hums, drinking the rest of his own smoothie. I see. What would be the easiest way to do what we're trying to do? Honestly, Sage puts a paw on his chin. If you somehow SWCH sides, maybe get into UA with a rehabilitation program. That would make a big scene and show that you want to do better while subtly putting out a message of why you were a villain and what you were trying to do and tell them exactly what you want to be changed. They love the little guy brought up from nothing making his way to the top as much as they love a changed villain. Tamara's face scrunches. I'll think about it and maybe talk to Sensei. Sensei. Sage smiles again. This was nice, considering how much I hate this building. We should probably part ways before anyone in the class finds us, though. Yeah, it was nice meeting you too. Tamara sighs, getting up. Very enlightening. Not a moment after they part ways, Uraraka comes back up to him. Who was that? A friend. Sage shrugs, not bothering to watch the villain walk away. Some guy I ran into that recognized me and paid for smoothies to have a chat. I think he got what he wanted. He tilts his head. Did you get that bug spray? Oh no. Uraraka sighed. I'm sorry for leaving you like that. It's fine. The conversation I had with that guy was nice, and I now know what a smoothie is. Sage waves her off. He'll have to ask Aizawa about the group later. Carrot, it takes too long, in Sage's humble opinion, to get all the humans rounded up after Ida's set time for the meeting spot. Is everyone still alive and breathing? Sage deadpants, done with the day and all the close contact to other humans. The class nods, some holding up bags. All. Accounted for Sage, Sensei. Ida reports before looking over the class. I assume everyone got everything they needed. Some more nods and affirmations. Great. Sage huffs. Now go home. Or, actually, I don't care. I'm going home. He waves them off as he stalks out of the building, sighing as he breathes in fresh air. He ends up walking past the abandoned park on his way back, just like when Aizawa and Hisashi took him to the mall. Sage gazes across the overgrown field for a couple heartbeats. Shaking his head, he silently continues the way back home. Exam week was long. Though none of the students really came up to Sage with questions after they found out he can't read, and he has no idea what they do in most of their classes. Though that didn't stop them from coming up to him for training pointers and questions on the practical exam. I haven't been told what the practical exam will entail, but I can tell you that Nizu himself is the one behind the plan for it. Sage tells them, putting a paw to his chin in thought. If I had to guess, it'll be something outrageous. He notes that it didn't fill the students with high hopes. Sage sighs. I'm sure he'll make it hard but passable. The point is for you to learn and overcome a challenge. Think of it like a harder training exercise. He looks over the students. Just do your best, and I'm sure you'll do fine. Sage gives them a thumbs up as reassurance. He, of course, already knows what Nizu has in mind for the exam, but it's not like the students need to know that. Carrot, now then, let's begin the last test. Aizawa starts in his usual tired drawl. Remember, it's possible to fail this final. If you want to go to camp, then don't make any stupid mistakes. Jiro looks at all the teachers, sans Yagi, gathered in front of the class. Why are all the teachers here? I expect many of you have gathered information and believe you have some idea of what you'll be faced with today. Aizawa continues without answering. Kaminari pumps his fist. We're fighting those big OL metal robots. Fireworks. S'mores. Here we come, camp. Mina cheers. Actually, this year's tests, Nizu says, popping out from Aizawa's scarf, will be completely different for various reasons. He announces before taking his time getting down. Sage will admit that it is very comfortable under that scarf, and Aizawa has very steady shoulders. Principal Nizu. Some of the class exclaim in surprise, though Sage isn't sure why. He told them about Nizu's meddling in the exams after all. Yaoyorozu tilts her head slightly. You're changing things. Nizu only smiles as he reaches the ground. The tests now have a new focus. There will be hero work, of course, but also teamwork and combat between actual people. He points at the class. So what does that mean for you? You students will be working together in pairs, and your opponents will be one of our esteemed UA teachers. Isn't that fabulous? The class seems shocked at the announcement. Uraraka's eyes are wide. We're fighting the teachers. Aizawa only nods. Additionally, your partners and your opponents have already been chosen. They were determined at my discretion based on various factors, including fighting style, grades, and interpersonal relationships. He announces who is going against who. Sato and Kirishima versus Cementos Fumikage, and Tsu versus Ectoplasm Yaoyorozu, and Todoroki versus Eraser Ida, and Ojiro versus Power Loader Aoyama, and Ochako versus 13 Mina, and Kaminari versus Nizukota, and Jiro versus Mike Shoji, and Toru versus Snipe Zero, and Mineta versus Midnight Katsuki and Hitoshi versus Sage. To complete the exam, you'll have 30 minutes. Nizu raises 3 fingers before pulling out HNDCFFS. In order to win, your objective is to put these HNDCFFS on your teacher. Or you can win if one of you manages to escape from the combat stage. Kaminari makes a thoughtful face. So we either got to capture the teacher or run away. It's basically like the combat training. Mina nods. Yeah, but is it really okay to just jet? Nizu gives the students a thumbs up. Yep, it's going to be much different than that combat training y'all went through earlier. After all, you're up against people way better than you. Hizashi points out, messing with his radios. This time your exam will be very similar to a real battle. A hero in a big puffy white costume with a black helmet excluding white eyes. 13 is what Sage has heard them be called, says not unkindly. As strange as it is, please think of us as villains. Another hero, one that also uses guns and wears both a cowboy hat and a gas mask, speaks next. Assuming you come across your enemy. If you think you can win against them, then fight. However, in instances where you're outmatched, it would be smarter to run away and find help. Aizawa finishes his sentence. So it's fight to win or run to win. Shinso raises a brow. That's right. Hizashi cheers. It's a test of your decision-making skills. But with these rules, you're probably thinking your only real choice is to flee. That's why the support course made these super clever accessories for us. You dig. Behold, ultra-compressed weights. He holds out his weights. Namuri, who Sage has met a couple times outside of the high school since she likes to hang out with Aizawa and Hizashi, speaks up next. These will add about half our body weight to our physiques. It's not much, but it will eat up our stamina and make it harder for us to move around. She says it in a way that makes Sage want to glare at her. We had a contest to come up with these designs, and a first-year student, Hatsum, ended up winning it. The support course teacher notes, Power Loader, Sage has been told. You think we need a handicap to win against you? Katsuki glares at all the teachers. Well, think again. Sage huffs, amused. Though he doesn't want to give away any strategies on how to beat himself. Katsuki is smart but bullheaded. I just want to remind you that you don't know what I'm capable of. The groups will be taking the test in the order they were called. Aizawa tells them, a smile on his face. Good luck. Carrot. Sage finds the weights to be a strange sensation. Though half his body weight is nothing compared to the amount he can actually lift. It wasn't surprising when he watched Katsuki stomp off after Shinso tried to talk to him. Sage practically glares at the blonde as he leaves, tail flicking behind him. You doing okay, little listener? Hizashi asks, putting a hand on Sage's head. Sage turns to the loud blonde. Yes. He watches Shinso join Uraraka and Chiyo in the surveillance room. I have decided to use my quirk. Whoa, are you sure? Hizashi asks, maybe a little too loudly. They're getting stared at now. Even Katsuki paused in his steps. I've never heard of you using your quirk during a fight before. Sage huffs, crossing his arms and flicking his tail. That is because I haven't, but I have a feeling someone is going to get mad if I beat him without it. That makes Katsuki turn around with a scowl, though there's surprise in his eyes and movements. You're DMN, right? I'll get mad. Don't hold back on us, you DMN cat. Hey, don't curse at him. Aizawa frowns. He's still a staff member and has the right to kick you out of the course if he sees fit. The warning makes Katsuki huff and go back to marching away. Cementos wins Sage around for where the noise is coming from. That was fast. Yeah, Hizashi agrees. I guess Tokoyami and Atsui are next against ectoplasm. I'm going to go take a nap. Sage huffs, slipping into the surveillance room after Chiyo leaves and hopping into the rafters, gracefully shifting into a Siberian forest cat without the 2 students noticing. He curls up, closing his eyes as he lets the human's conversation wash over him. It's probably at least a good 15-20 minutes before the announcement sounds off. Atsui and Tokoyami wins, it's very loud. Sage wishes it wasn't, but he supposes it needs to be as some students walked away a good distance to talk to each other. The next match lasts a lot longer. Todoroki and Yairosa wins, Sage tunes most of it out, actually getting to have his nap. Mineta wins, Sage stretches with a yawn, changing back before hopping down. I guess that means it's time to go do this thing. He looks at the two surprised students, tilting his head as he paws the sleep from his eyes. What? How long have you been up there? Shinso asks with a wide-eyed expression. Sage hums. A little after the first match. I decided to take a nap, and this is the quietest, darkest place. Sage, without warning, then takes Shinso and tosses him over his shoulder like, as the humans say, a bag of tomatoes, or was it yams? Maybe satchel of fish would be better. Common, let's go. I'm about 180 pounds. And you have the weights on? Shinso comments as Sage carries him to the bus. Yeah. Sage questions, putting him down. It's only half my body weight. I don't weigh that much apparently. They're a little uncomfortable at worst. Sage can hear Shinso curse under his breath before he enters the bus behind Katsuki. Honestly, he hopes Shinso does the smart thing and leaves while he fights the explosive blonde. It's probably not going to be pretty. It only takes Sage a few minutes to get to the exam site, parkouring his way there before taking to the shadows. And then the exam begins. He knows that this area is the same one Aizawa fought Shoto and Yaoyorozu. Sage stalks through the streets. Be a villain. What a dumb idea. It's not like Sage can kill anyone. There's no one but students in this fake city. And it's not like he can do much else in this fake city other than wait for the students to find him or for him to find them. There's an explosion to his left. He decides to traverse the rooftops, changing into a Siberian again, missing the view of the cameras. It doesn't take long for him to find the two, surprisingly together. Where is he? Why can't he just come out and fight me? Katsuki growls. Shinso shrugs. I'm sure we'll see him eventually. If you keep making really loud noises, maybe he can find us, and we don't have to search the whole area. He suggests. Smart, but also dumb. Why would he want to fight if they aren't going towards the exit? He could drag this out for as long as he wants. I wonder what his quirk even is. Shinso looks down an alleyway. Katsuki lets out a loud explosion. Who cares? All that matters is beating him. Sage's ear flicks as he watches them stroll down the street. He decides to clean his fur for a moment, licking his forearm before wiping his face. He didn't have enough time to do it after his nap. The light jingling of his collar makes the two humans pause. What is that? Shinso looks around before calling out Sage. Sage changes back before peering over the rooftop edge. DMN, is it fighting time already? Without wasting another moment, Sage jumps off the building and lands square on top of Katsuki. This causes him to fall to the ground with a yelp of surprise, winded. In a blink, Sage grabbed Shinso and left Katsuki before he could recover. Sage ties Shinso up in capture tape as he gets to a secluded rooftop across the fake city. You should be fine here. Won't explode or be in a collapsed building. Hope you don't mind, but I've got a score to settle with Katsuki, even if he doesn't know that it's me. Sage waves his goodbye to Shinso before changing back into the Siberian to race across rooftops. He changes back when he gets to Katsuki. DM in it. Get out here, you scaredy cat. Katsuki makes another explosion. Sage drops down behind him, kicking him into the wall of the building in front of them. Glass shatters into the fake storefront. The kick sends Katsuki into one of the shelves, toppling them over. Katsuki recovers decently quickly, running up to him before starting with his usual right hook. Sage ducks, sweeping the blonde's legs out from under his feet. Before Katsuki can use his quirk, Sage grabs the handles on his big arm things and forcefully presses his wrists into himself. He'll have to blow himself up if he wants to use his quirk. You are nothing compared to people I have fought before. Sage tells him, I've beaten Stain. I have beaten Muscular. Most villains beg me to spare them. Will you be the same? Sage tilts his head. I would never beg to the likes of you. Katsuki spits, snarling like a mutt. Sage huffs, amused. You are nothing but a chihuahua with their tail between their legs. Katsuki's face seems to pink-hinge slightly, most likely from anger. What the F did you just call me, you F-cat? And with that, Katsuki flips Sage over his head. Sage twisted his body to land on his feet in a crouch, letting go of Katsuki in the process. Katsuki whips around and immediately uses his quirk. Sage presses his ears back, shielding his eyes with an arm. Thank you, Hatsum, for blast-proofing his uniform. She may be crazy, but she's a genius, he'll give her that. Sage retaliates by punching the blonde in the face, hard enough to knock him cleanly off his feet. He waits a couple heartbeats for retaliation. Whoops, did he punch him too hard? Crouching down, Sage watches the rise and fall of Katsuki's chest. Not dead then, just knocked out. Sage shakes his head, picking the student up before giving the camera a thumbs up. Sage wins. He grabs Shinso on his way out, carrying both boys over his shoulders as he parkours back the way he came. Sage drops in front of the other teachers, letting Chio take a look at Katsuki as he unties Shinso. You're a beast, Sage-sensei. Most students are looking at him in awe. Apparently, they decided to watch the last match. Sue tilts her head. When did you use your quirk? Sage tilts his head. I guess hiding from cameras when using it is a habit. Though I guess I'm technically always using it, in a way. I guess now is as good of a time as any to tell you that everyone is going to the camp. Aizawa announces after a few moments. No matter if you failed the exam or not. What? There's a mix of outrage and excitement among the students. It was a logical ruse. Aizawa states like it explains anything. Ida chops his arm, as usual. Don't you think if you keep doing that we'll eventually stop trusting your word? Aizawa just shrugs. Maybe you should just always do your best, as in the end it will benefit you the best. Sage deadpants. All right. Ida agrees. It takes a moment for the class to start cheering about having fun at the summer camp. Thank you for joining us on this journey through what if Vigilante Deku was Aizawa's adopted kitten. We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to Coffee Addict 9000 for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on Archive of Our Own, or for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zen and Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.